The third robbery, I got $7,800 because in bank robberies in the 80s, there's two drawers. The top drawer has the loose money. The refill drawer is the second drawer. And I went and robbed this First Interstate at Wilshire and La Brea.
Walk us through the first time you robbed a bank.
I went to a toy store and got a gun, fake gun, put it in my waist, put on Dickies over jeans, baggy clothes over, you know.
When did you get out of prison?
I got out day before Thanksgiving, 1993.
When did you find yourself so invested in your recovery?
I think always. But I think when I decide to do it, I dive. You know what I mean?
So how do they grab you? All right, so I have the pleasure and honor of having Shane Enholm in my dad's house in the Alan Mannheim Dopey studio. Welcome to the show.
And thank you. I'm real excited to be here.
Andy Roy, Dopey legend, friend of the show, was like, oh, you know who you should get on the show? Shane Enholm. He's a crazy bank robber, crazy dope fiend, blah, blah, blah. And then I reached out and you were like, I'm going to be on the East Coast.
I just happened to be, I was, want me to tell?
Yeah.
There's a convention in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's very small. And the guy that invites people, it's not like rock star tattooers like most conventions. And about 8 months ago, a prison guard that was the guard in Lewisburg where I was, he's retired now. His son found me online and they started, his son first, he said, hey, do you know this guy? And the guy saw me now. He's like, nope. But then he saw the prison pictures of me, which I was a gangster. You know, I looked a lot different in there. I had short hair and muscles, and you know, I was a gangster. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." And then we started talking. He goes, "You know, I'd really like to get tattooed by you." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be in Allentown. How far is that from you?" He goes, "Like an hour." So we came, and he let me even tattoo his wife, and it was so emotional for me. It was unbelievably heavy.
Why?
Because they're trained to hate us. They go to Glencoe, the feds, you know, the state too. We can talk about that too. I went to the state when I was a kid. But they're trained to not trust you, hate you, you know, and we the same thing. So there's a thin line between us. And there are guards that are assholes. They'll take your sugar, they'll take, you know, whatever. And then there are ones like him that, you know, he's just doing his job and you can't do anything in front of him. You could never go, hey man, will you bring me some dope? You know, anything like that. But it was a real honor. I knew he was a Marine. I knew who he was. And if you're the lead guy in the hole in Lewisburg is a level 5, it's high level prison, 30-foot walls. The lead guy in shoe, I mean, you're the guy that, I mean, it falls on you. You know, you're the lead guard. So, but it was amazing. His wife got tattooed, which for him to even trust me to tattoo was amazing. Was amazing.
Do you remember him from Lewisburg?
I have one memory of him. I was in R&D. When you go to Lewisburg, the bus drives onto the yard in the walls. And Lewisburg was built in 1906. It is a prison. Like if you Google it or look at it, I mean, it's gnarly. And it has a reputation. It had the highest murder rate. Guys are doing 3 life sentences. I mean, it's bad. And I got disciplinary transfers and ended up there because of that. And when I drove up there, I was in R&D, which the shoe that I was in the basement is off R&D, which R&D is like receiving and discharge. It's where you go in and go out. And they were photographing me and fingerprinting me, and he came out. And there was a 300-pound black guy with him, a convict, wearing a sheet. And he's like, oh, I'm sick. And the guy looked at me and I looked at him. He goes, welcome to Lewisburg. That's what he said to me. And that guy was named, I think, Grady. And they couldn't find clothes to fit him. So he had to wear a sheet. And he eventually fought the guards and they moved him to Marion. But I told him that. And I know that was him that said, welcome to Lewisburg. But other than that, I don't remember him.
And what did he say anything that he remembered from you?
No, but it's just, he probably showed my picture to some other people because when I was in Lewisburg, I wasn't there long, not a year even. I did 8 years and 23 days. I had a parole hearing and they moved me to Fairton, New Jersey for a parole hearing, which is a level 4, not a level 5. But everything I'd heard about Lewisburg, I was quiet there because, I mean, there's guys doing 300 years and they will kill. Lewisburg had a metal factory, which lockers, And if you have a metal factory in prison, can you imagine the weapons? I mean, there were like battle axes. People were getting killed in that place.
Did you have weapons there?
Oh, yeah, I got a knife case. Yeah. Not there, but I got a knife case at the next place. But yeah, there, everyone has a weapon. Everybody has one.
It seems like, I mean, I think a lot of drug addicts in recovery, it feels as though we've lived many lives.
Oh, yeah.
But with you, it feels like you've lived many, many different lives.
I don't know how it happened, like with punk rock, you know, Darby, the mother of my kids, OD'd with Darby Crash of the Germs. I don't know if you saw that in the...
I did. Let's start at, you grew up in California.
No, I grew up till I was 12 in Colorado and New Mexico. My mom, addict. I had a brother...
Heroin addict?
No. Codeine.
Okay.
Cough syrup. We used to go to these pharmacies. You could sign the... Before that, you had to need a full prescription. You could sign this book and get these, and we would get cases of it. And that's my first taste of opiates. But
was codeine.
Yeah, I have a brother. We're close in age. He was a sheriff 30 years, but he grew up with my grandmother. My mom dragged me with her, following men. We got busted together. We got handcuffed and taken to jail together when I was 12.
You and your mother?
Mm-hmm.
And what were the charges?
Check. Hanging paper. My
wow.
mom. Yeah, hanging paper. Yeah.
And that's like cashing bad checks.
And
writing bad checks.
And I had, at the same time that she was doing that, I was walking home from school in Espanola, New Mexico, and I had a switchblade. And I was walking with a friend, and there were these kids, and my friend goes, "You got your switchblade?" And I go, "Yeah." And he grabbed it, and he popped the kid's basketball. And they went home and called the police. So the cops were outside the house, and my mom's like, "Turn the lights off, turn the lights off." I'm like, "Ma, they know we're here. Like, it doesn't matter, you know." And then they knocked on the door, and they said to my mom, "We got a warrant." And then they're like, "What's his name?" And they're like, "We got a warrant for you." And they took us together. Yeah.
For both of you?
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
12.
And how old were you the first time you drank the syrup?
12, 11, 12. Well, as soon as my mom and I were away from her parents, because my grandfather's the only male I had in my life till prison that liked me. He taught me to read. He taught me to be articulate. He taught me to keep my fingernails, you know, all those things. But he wouldn't take blood pressure medication. He dropped out of a heart attack younger than I am now. But he taught me to draw. Everything I have, I got from my grandfather. But he wrote. We were arguing about my mom. We were at his house. We had driven up there to spend the weekend, and I was real upset because my mom had been taking me with men. She was fucking, you know, and I would have to listen to him fuck.
Oh my God.
And then they would beat her always, and I would try to fight them. You know, I'm fighting grown men, so I was yelling at my grandfather about it, you know, and my grandfather was like, "Look, Shane, when you're older, you're going to understand. You just don't understand now what's, you know, like your mom's fucked up, you know, but you'll get it one day. You'll understand." And I was always like mad at my father because he wasn't around. And
what happened? Where did he wind up?
My father and I got close when I was 45. After prison, we were like the same people. I collect antiques. He collects it was crazy how similar we are. We look the same.
Right.
We have the same tastes. Everything. It was insane. But he told me there was
Was he a heroin addict who loved the Trump punk rock?
No, but when I got there, when I was 45, he had jars of Oxycontins.
Wow.
He was strung out.
Wow.
And he had a partner that was a New York City cop. I think the cop's dead now. And they were somehow getting them. I don't know. But between him and my mom, I realized, holy shit, this is hereditary. Opiates, you know? And then my grandfather, he was a pharmacist. And I remember one time I opened his drawer and he had morphine syrettes.
Wow.
And that made me wonder, maybe he was too. You dig? Like, I mean, he hid it from me, but there was an architect, Ken Taniguchi, and he used to come by the house and see me and Lance, and he bought my brother Lance, like, my brother wanted to be an architect. He brought him. And when my brother was young, they called him the Chinaman. And Ken was from the Pacific. And Pop told me that he always thought Ken was his father. And I was like, whoa. I always asked him, he never did it because he's a cop and he's weird. I go, did you ever take the DNA? Because I thought, man, if he does that, and it is, I don't know. But he has brown eyes. I have blue eyes. I look just like Pop. I don't know where he came.
I have one daughter, though, with hazel eyes, like exactly like my eyes and my wife's eyes. And the other daughter has brown eyes, but she looks exactly like my dad.
Well, we have the same chin and stuff, but I always wondered why Ken Taniguchi
was so interested in your brother.
And he was. And why my brother, my brother didn't want to be a cop. He wanted to be an architect. But
there was a bond there.
Something's going on.
Is Ken Taniguchi still alive?
I don't know. But what ended up happening, I never knew this, but what happened with my mom and Pop, my first memory is being little, like 2 or 1, on their legs, trying to get them to quit fighting. They were at the dining room table, and I remember how upset I was that they were fighting. I always remembered that when I had kids, because I was really distraught over that, trying to get them to stop fighting. My father had an affair with my mom's brother's wife.
Wow.
And my mom caught him. It was a big fucked up, but when you're young and then you fuck up and they're like, you're a fuck, you don't realize, well, yeah, but never as bad as you, motherfucker, because you know what I mean?
See, I grew up in this house. Both of my parents were New York City Board of Ed teachers for fucking ever. No one ever did anything wrong until me. I'm the only fuck up. So I don't have this thing that you have where I can blame. I mean, I blame my parents anyway for other things. Right. But I'm the bad one.
Right.
So I think you have a great privilege to be able to see that, to trace your trauma back to one, whereas I'm like a spoiled kid and I fucked everything up.
Pop was hooked till the day he died like a research monkey, because I asked him after I got clean and everything, he never called me on my birthday. The last day he was alive, he died on April 9th. I'm born April 8th. He remembered to call me on my birthday.
Wow.
And I'm like, Pop. And he's like, I remembered your birthday. And we talked for an hour. It was the best phone call. If I knew he was going to drop dead the next day, I would have talked to him forever. I really loved him. But he was still using. He was still on Oxycontins. He had somehow, even during the DEA's he'd somehow managed to get some, I guess. And I said, Pop, are you still doing those fucking things? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Whatever, I understand. Because I asked him, do you sneeze when you don't have them? Do you get sick? Because he's not an addict like we were. I mean, but it's the same fucking thing. When you don't have them, you sneeze and sick. And
it's the same high. You get that feeling
exactly.
that nothing means anything and that you're safe and warm and protected.
Yeah, yeah.
How old are you? Like, did you start drinking first? Like, what was your...
Weed.
Weed, me too.
Weed. Yeah. And then I got deep into it. Weed, different kinds, Colombian, red hair, all that. You know how you do that.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah. Then acid.
Yes, me too.
Okay. And then punk rock led to heroin.
Okay, let's open this up. Okay. When do you wind up meeting Darby Crash?
Okay. What happened is my grandfather drops dead. My mom and I are in New Mexico chasing a guy. We get this interracial couple. That's why I remember it.
Wait, chasing which guy?
Some fucking creep that we end up fighting and we end up driving in the middle of the night to my grandmother's house in Boulder, Colorado. And my grandfather's dead. He's gone. And there's a skate park, only one. And I used to go there and pick weeds and skate. And I came home one day and my mom's like, one of us has to go. And my bags were by the door. And I'm 12, maybe 13, 12. No, I think I just turned 13. It was like May. It was around my grandfather's birthday.
But your mom is like, one of us has to go, meaning me or you?
Uh-huh.
Why?
I'll tell you. Okay. So my friend Nick was coming to pick me up with his mom, and I was crying, and I got in the car. We were going to the movies, and he's like, just move in with us. And his mom was like a hippie and like an astrologer. So I moved in with him, and then we hitchhiked across the country a couple times. We were long-haired, blonde, surf, and he taught me to surf. I moved to New Jersey, learned to surf. Then we hitchhiked to California, surfed in California. That's how I led to punk rock. But we'll go back. But when I used to hitchhike to my grandmother's every now and then. I was in punk rock, and I hitchhiked there when I was like 16. My grandmother would never let me stay at the house. So I'd sleep in a planter by the park so that nobody from the street could see me. I had a sleeping bag, and it's like stealth sleeping, combat sleeping, because you get picked on when you're a homeless teenager. I mean, people want to, I've been through all kinds of crazy shit, picked up by serial killer. I mean, I can tell you all that too. But so I go to breakfast. My grandmother cooks me breakfast. I'm eating breakfast with her. I'm 16. And she goes, Shane, I never minded anything you did, but you should have never stole your grandfather's gold. What? I wasn't even really a dope fiend. And I knew Ma did it. And so I fucking called the phone right then. I go, hey, Ma, I'm sitting with my grandmother, and she's talking about Bompa's gold. And my mom hung the phone up on me. I don't know if my grandmother believed me, but before she died in 2010, about 2008, she started calling me. She's like, I really need to see you, Shane. I didn't get there. But I knew what she wanted. She wanted to let me know that she knew
that your mom had taken.
I was fucking 12 fucking years. I didn't give a fuck about. I didn't even know what gold was worth.
She was probably hoping it was you and not.
But
your
I
mom.
lived. My mom robbed her again years later. You know how it. But at that time. But what I was always bummed about is I fulfilled the prophecy, because when I became a junkie, then I'd rob anything, and. So
but that's how it is.
Right. So I think my grandmother then, when that happened, was kind of like, but anyway, backtrack. Okay, so I get in the car, we go to the east, then we go to the west, and it's hippie shit. And I end up in like the movement for spiritual inner awareness.
So you're like 15, it's like 1977?
78.
78.
And 14, yeah. And we end up in these hippie spiritual groups, the movement of spiritual inner awareness. John Roger was John the Beloved reincarnated, and that crap. But the truth is, they were all just a bunch of child
molesters.
Yes. And Nick and I didn't know that. We thought we were actually getting spiritual. We were really scared of gay, because we're young, pretty boys. And, that wasn't us. I have no disrespect for, my daughter's gay. I don't give a fuck about any of that. But at the time, that freaks us,
It was scary. You didn't want to get molested. You didn't want to get raped. You didn't want
and that's what we fell into with the spiritual. Every time we'd meet some guy that was apparently, it turned out later that the guy was, but he didn't move on us. I think because later John Roger, it was a 60-minute thing about him raping kids from Hollywood Boulevard. I think he realized
these runaway kids.
Yeah, I think we were too much in the spiritual side, that if he moved on us, he figured, because that was his hustle, you dig? He was a mystic traveler, it's called.
Yeah. And they were predators.
Yeah.
Because there was a world of vulnerable kids
exactly
that were looking for a place to go.
And that's what happens when you're a kid on the street. You end up in fucked up situations. So we heard punk rock.
How long were you on the street for in that period?
Well, I don't know, because Case, the mother of my kids, the Darby, she was 28 and I was 16 when we met. So was on the streets then. We had houses together in bed, but until I went to prison, basically. I would go to juvenile hall and stuff. I escaped from juvenile hall a couple of times. But I mean, my big case in juvenile hall was I robbed pharmacies. I was strung out, and
you're going. We got to slow down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's too much good stuff to take apart.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm interested also in that where punk rock rubs up against the hippie movement.
Well, we were surfing, and skating, and punk rock were coming together at that time. And I was at a movement of spiritual inner awareness youth group in Santa Monica.
Homeless though.
I was staying with people from the movement of spiritual inner awareness, this mom and her daughter, and they took me in. So I was sleeping on their couch. So was I homeless?
Semi.
Sort of.
Unhoused, we'll say.
Sort of. Yeah, I was in Venice, and this kid that was a criminal was at the movement. I forget his name even. He's from Huntington Beach, and he had a stolen motorcycle. And he was like, hey, man, after we did the whole spiritual, he's like, you want to go up Sunset Boulevard? Come on, let's get on them. We had a dirt bike, and we're boogieing. I'm on the back, with my feet almost dragging and we drive up the winding from the beach up, and at the whiskey is the Ramones. And we went. And I walked in there. I had long blonde hair, painter pants, surfer. 79, maybe 78, maybe right in there. And I remember Joey Ramone goes, "This is a real tear jerker, Blitzkrieg Bop," and I was like, "Wow!" And that was it for me. I cut my hair, and there was a
Even though Joey had long hair.
yeah, right. But I mean, that was it for me. And all the kids outside, and so I went back to the people, and the woman I was staying with, her daughter, the woman was a hairdresser. So the next day, I'm like, "Hey, cut my hair." And I go, "I want it, spiked," and and then I thought it was punk rock, and there was a 7-Eleven. This is in Venice, on Lincoln. I went there, and these skinhead guys were like playing pinball, and I'm like, "Hey," and they beat the fuck out of me. I mean, they really fucked me up, and I was like, "Well, maybe I'm in the wrong."
Maybe I'm not punk rock.
Right. I mean, they really hurt me, and but yeah, then I fell into punk rock, and the wonderful thing about punk rock then,
It was tiny.
yeah, and I'm me, and I somehow, so we were at the Starwood, and Gerber, Michelle Bell, she ended up visiting me in prison. She was a big punk rock person. She had a column in Flipside magazine, which was the big fanzine called Gerber's Gab, and I met her, and then Casey and me met, and she lived at this place called the Oxford House with Darby, and then they had this.
And Casey was Darby Crash's ex-girlfriend.
Well,
or girlfriend at the time.
good question, because Darby's gay. So Case would say that she fucked him.
But he would say,
I don't think so.
No.
I think they were just.
And he was a punk rock legend of the Germs.
Oh, yeah. And he was an amazing. Have you ever read his lyrics? He's an amazing human being. But he died at 22. But they had this suicide pact. So they took the rent money from the Oxford House, and they went behind Casey's. Casey had a rich mom that was a advertising executive who got sober and was a circuit speaker years later. But she was a drunk, and they had this little house behind there, and Darby spoon tricked her. I wrote this in Cream Magazine. I have an article in Cream Magazine, and the article is about that, because I feel like everyone's gone now. So my idea is they bought $400 worth of China White, or white heroin, not China White like we know that killed everyone, but white dope in which is rare in LA. And they went back there to use, and I think he spoon tricked her. I think he put it all in there because she lived and he died. And I think
he put it all in his spoon.
The lion's share, and then probably took his finger and put it in the, and dipped it in the spoon. You spoon tricked her.
And from that shot, it killed him.
It killed him dead. And probably had he split it down the middle,
he would have lived.
They both would have died.
Okay.
But he wanted to make sure
that he got high.
And she woke up, and everyone blamed her for it. Everyone. They hated her. They would spit on her, and because you're dealing with 15 to 23-year-olds. And you're dealing with real adult issues: homosexuality, maybe abuse, drug addiction, death. These are real adult issues. And when you're a teenager and you got all those hormones, so they blamed her. And I used to fight them because I was like, it's not her fault.
Well, also, everyone in that scene was exiled from the world.
That's
everyone
right.
in there was a runaway, rogue, misfit.
Or didn't fit into the high school jock, the heavier girls, and, but so I would defend her, at the Okie Dogs. So they'd spit on her, and I'd be like, fuck you, it's not her fault. But they really blamed her for it. There are people to this day
that still do.
Oh, God. They're still mad.
And when did you start doing heroin?
With her.
What was the first time?
First time I got brown dope, I want to say it was in Long Beach. We got a couple bags, like they're in balloons. But then her and she robbed banks with me and everything. But it was her. She introduced me to it. Like, it was the same as codeine, but a little stronger. And I remember I might have done half a bag, and it was like, "Hi, Mom, I'm home."
Right.
And I mean, I took to it like a fish to, but
total comfort.
But I like speedball. I do coke too. But the first thing I ever injected was coke. But then.
When was that?
I was 15, maybe 14.
In California?
Yeah, we had coke, and there was a punk rock kid and there was a guy that knew how to do it. And he's like, "Oh, you got to try this." But it made you
very crazy,
Jonesy.
Yeah.
You Jones real bad.
Some people lived for that feeling. I couldn't take it either.
Ugh.
Yeah.
but mixing it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I like that.
So then the heroin came along, and Case and I went to juvenile hall. I robbed. Okay, so I'm with Case. I don't want to be with her. First time I ever saw her, I'm like, I'm glad that's not my girlfriend. She was gnarly, and I just
she was 10 years older than you. 12 years older than you.
And I was like, but she had dated like Dick's or John Denny of Weirdos, and she had been with Axel of the Gears, and she was like
punk rock legend.
Yes, one of them girls, and she was crazy about me. Later, when I did my album, and we'll get to all that, but they hired a bass player. And when I went to go record with him, the guy's like, I want to say one word to you. I go, what? He said, Casey. This is fucking 2000 or 2000. And he's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I go, no. He goes, I'll never forget your eyes. I met you at the Vex. Casey and them were hanging out. I remember when he was hanging out with her. There were two guys, and they were like, what the fuck are you doing? And she was like, oh, this guy Shane's coming. And oh, my God, Shane, he's so many things. And then I walk him, I'm a little kid. I'm a little fucking kid. And they're like, him? Like he's fucking...
You're like 17.
Yeah, he's like a little kid. Like, I mean, I didn't grow till prison. I was like a little, like maybe weighed 90 pounds. I don't know. But she was really into me. I don't know why, but crazy. And I finally gave in. She's got food. She's got a bed. She's got, you know what I mean? Mommy.
You're homeless. Yeah. She thinks you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. She's also big in the scene. She also has drugs.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck it.
Yeah. And I'm like, finally gave in. But I wasn't attracted to her.
Never?
Later. I grew to it, you know? And then she got pregnant with my oldest daughter, Arwen. And she wanted to have it. And I was stupid. Because I went along with it.
Did you name her after the elfin princess in Lord of the Rings?
Yes, because my first time to drug rehab was before that. I robbed these pharmacies and I got caught, and I ended up in drug rehab Synergy. You know about that?
I think I've heard of it.
Attack therapy?
Yeah.
Where they make you like...
No, Synanon, right?
Yes. Yeah, but they call this one Synergy. Same thing.
Yeah.
6th floor of the state hospital lockup, and they have attack therapy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So what was it like?
Brutal. They would get you in a circle and scream at you. They made me put a clown's mask on because I was such a fool for 30 days.
Like because you were a clown.
Because I was
right.
And then there was an older guy that was a burglar. It was all people convicted of crimes. They tied a rope to us 3 feet apart and made us to break our criminal contract, they call it. And the guy finally broke the rope and went and sat on the bench. He was real mad at me. Real mad.
Why? Why was he angry at you?
Because I made a joke about his male pattern baldness, man. I mean, I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a kid. I was the youngest kid in there.
How did you wind up in there?
I robbed some pharmacies. And
hey, hold up. How did you rob pharmacies?
I knew a girl whose dad was a doctor. And we got a ride from her, and the doctor bag was in the car.
Yes.
And I opened it, and there were morphine syrettes in there.
Yeah.
So I stole them, used them, and then I got his address. And that night I went to his doctor office, and I threw a brick through the window, got all his drugs. Where'd the drugs come from? This pharmacy. Then we burglarized his house and got some guns. And then we started, I was fucking 17, 16, 17, just turned 7. And so when I got caught...
What kind of drugs did he have in the house?
In the office.
Yeah.
He had an unopened bottle of liquid Dilaudid.
Oh, my God.
It had a skull and crossbones on it.
It's like Drugstore Cowboy.
There was a blue cough medicine bottle of liquid cocaine. There was morphine, Demerol, liquid Valium. I mean, this guy, I think he was probably a drug addict, the doctor. Because why the fuck does he have all this in his office? And it was heaven.
How and did you keep it all?
I just shot it all.
Oh my God.
All of it.
I'm like, my head is kind of exploding right now. The bottle of liquid Dilaudid and liquid cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
And you're making these super pharmaceutical speedballs?
Okay, now I didn't know how to break the tin off the end because it has rubber. So I pushed an outfit right through the metal. And then after I did that a few times, I'm like, wait a minute. And there was like a little thing that you break off and... You know, and then after that, I robbed other ones, and there would be 12 of them.
How did you know that he had guns in his house?
Oh, no. the guns were a drummer from a punk rock band's dad had the guns, and he showed them to me once. So I'm like, hey, let's get some guns. And
So did you go to the pharmacy and just hold up the pharmacist?
we did that, yeah. Yeah, we would do that. He would hold the gun, I'd jump over the counter, all that shit, yeah.
And I want to talk about, what is your addiction like at this point?
Bad.
And because what's the transition from falling in love with a feeling to fucking stealing bottles of drugs from the doctor?
I think today on the way here, I have a friend, Sharky. Hi, Sharky.
Hi, Sharky.
Henry Flores.
Okay.
And we were in prison together. He caught me when I was real young, and he kind of taught me how to do time. And he was one of the men that became my father figure and saved my life, you know. And he always says, Shane, you were the worst drug addict I ever met. Because I think at some point I cared about nothing but not feeling really, I didn't care. So
you were in love with the feeling. And then, it's amazing though, because we all, I was on heroin for 12 years. I never found a doctor with a bag of liquid Dilaudid. I'm fucking getting horrible, bullshit powder here and bullshit tar there.
Yes,
it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Well, that was only a small period of time, but so they catch me. So I have this big case. It's a big fucked up case, pharmacy robberies, and they give me 2 lawyers, and they say, okay, Shane, you can go to YA till you're 26. I'm 17. That's 9 years.
What's YA?
Youth Authority in California. You can go till you're 26. Or you can take an adult sentence for 3 years. So I took the time and I went to the state pen, and I'm just the day I turned 18.
Wow.
And it was scary. It was bad.
What is it like to show up in state pen at 18 years old in California?
Terrifying. California's set the market for prison politics, races. It's gnarly. It's gangs. It's gnarly there. And then we have that reputation, Quentin, Folsom, it's like a big deal. And this is 81. Wait, when did I turn 18? Yeah, I would have been 20 in 84. So 82? April 8th, 1982, I guess, is when I caught
Had Arwen been born already?
No.
Okay.
So I go there, and this woman, Barbara Callahan, visits me. I got a visit. And I'm like, I ain't got no visit. Now I got dudes on me. And one guy, I had a black eye permanently. Well, he threw these boxers through the cell, and he goes, wash my laundry, bitch. And I flushed him down the toilet and told him, I'm sending them out. They'll be back later. And then some of the other guys thought that was funny, and they're like, look, the kid's not going to give up. He's not going to. So leave him alone. But they called me to a visit, and it was Barbara Callahan, and she ran the family, which was Synanon. And she's like, hey, man, you'd be perfect. And I'm like, well, can we go right now? Do I have to go back in there? And she's like, no, but, and then I ended up in the drug program, and that's how I ended. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I escaped from the drug program, and then I got the bank robbery. So
wait, hold up. How bad is it though when you're 18-year-old? You're getting fucked with constantly in prison?
Constantly.
Beat.
There was one guy, Slim Malone, black guy. He's like, you're gonna say goodnight, daddy, to me. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Yeah, it's not fun. But what happens is, okay, I think this is what happens in prison. A lot of times they don't give people a chance to become they're such fucking predators that any guy that goes in there, if you school him correctly, could be a good dude and could be an asset to your tip, your group, but they spend so much time fucking, it was bad. But I'm the same as the street. I've been on the street since I was fucking 12. It's the same shit.
So you had some sort of understanding of what you were going to have to do to survive.
Well, yeah, because I'd been in juvenile hall. I escaped from there when I was 15. We hit the fence and got over and got away. And then I've been in group homes, because every time they catch you on the street when you're a homeless kid, you go in the system, because they don't know they aren't going to let you go back out. So they send you to a group home, and then you run away from the group home. In fact, I told this story. I was in a group home, 3rd Street group home. I had a girlfriend, Judy Prue, and her friend Heather, and we ran away from there and we hitchhiked. And this dude picked us up and raped them and shot me. I got that story too, if you want to hear it.
Let's hear it.
Caught me in the hand. Yeah, but what he did is, okay, so we make a plan. Sunday we're going to run away. I had no friends, so I had all this free time they give you. If you don't fuck up, you can go out to like the pinball place, or I still have long hair. I'm a little kid. And Judy is my girlfriend, and she lives in the Pine Street group home, and we're going to meet, and we're going to run away. And we do. Sunday night, we hitchhike. It's 3 a.m. We're hundreds of miles from the spot where we're at. And we're by a military base, and a Volkswagen picks us up. And we get in it, and the guy's like, hey, man, what's your names? And Heather, Judy, I say Shane. He goes, Shane, that's a boy's name. And I'm like, I am a boy, but I have long, you know what I mean? He goes, oh, I thought I hit the lottery, 3 chicks. So he's like, look, you guys are tired. We'll take you. Why don't you come spend the night at my house?
Oh, God.
And I'm like to Judy in the back seat going, no. Heather's in the front. No. She's like, come on, you're tired, Shane. Yeah, let's. And so he fucking takes us on the military base. He's in a barracks. It's Sunday night, takes us in the barracks. Nobody's there but us.
You're like, we should not be here.
He starts right away. Who's going to fuck me? Who's taking off? You know what I mean? So the girls start really freaking out. And he's like, all right, I'll take you back to the freeway. So we get back on the freeway. And I remember he had a knife between the thing, and Heather goes, what's the knife for? Victim question. So he takes us to this truck stop, but he drives past the truck stop. We get off and I know. We're going down a dark road. He's like, no, there's a place on the nose, and then boom, it's on. And he rapes the Heather, and he makes Judy take her clothes off, and he's like, okay, you do the same thing to her that I'm doing. And I wouldn't. I just was sitting there like freaked.
He wanted to see you have sex with Judy.
And Judy's like, and I go, but he was so caught up with Heather. So he gets ahead from Heather, busts a nut, throws us on the side of the road, and then as he's driving away, he shoots at us. And I was the only one that got anything. I caught one in the hand, 22. I still have the scar from it. You can see it kind of.
Yeah.
And so we walked to the truck stop, and there was a cop there, and we gave up. Now we went to juvenile hall because we're wards of the court. I remember everything. I can tell you many things. I have a vivid memory.
Before you say anything else, I just want to thank you, because you don't hear this kind of stuff, and we need this stuff on our show. So I want to thank you for.
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming and telling such fucking crazy stuff.
Well, I forgot what I was going to tell you. Oh, I can't remember his name. I can remember everything. Oh, I had to testify. It's the only time I ever testified in my life, and I feel guilty about it to this day because I went to the joint. I'm not a rat. You know what I mean? But when we went to test, they busted him, of course, because the cop, and I showed him where he took us, and
he raped your friend, shot you in the hand, and still you feel guilty for testifying.
Heather, when we were walking away, and I'm bleeding, and we're walking away, Heather says, he peed in my mouth. She's so young, he can't. That she didn't even know
what it was.
Right.
How old was she?
13.
Horrible.
And so we walk to the truck stop, and there's a cop, and Judy's like, should we keep going? She wraps my hand, and I'm like, no, this is going to keep happening to us. We're too young. This is insane. And so I walk up to the cop, and I show him, and then immediately there's feds and army cops, and it's a big fucking deal. So later we go to juvenile hall. We're busted. We ran away. We still get a case. The girls in juvenile hall were so mean to Heather. They were like saying, I would never let that motherfucker do that. I would have fucking died first. And it's like, yeah, bullshit. If you're in there.
13. Yeah, exactly.
What are you going to do?
Nothing.
The guy was 6'4".
Nothing.
I mean.
Nothing. But that's part of the culture of juvie hall. You know what I mean? Somebody shaming somebody else for being a victim.
It was so sad. It was so bad. I saw Heather later when she was 18, and she was still fucked up.
So they pluck you out of prison to put you into the family Synanon thing.
Yes, that's later. Okay, that's later. And I go, and I'm the youngest guy there, and I'm so excited. It's on the 6th floor of the state hospital.
Were you just excited to get out of the prison?
Well, fuck yeah.
Or were you?
And there was women there too.
Did you have any interest in cleaning up?
No.
Okay.
No. I didn't think. No, I was trying to kill myself. I didn't even think I'd live. I mean, I was bad. And so when
were you actually trying to kill yourself at that point? Or were you just didn't care if you lived or died?
I didn't care if I mean, I got some real good ones about that. You know, I'm wounded. I'm a wounded kid, you know, fucking my mom, you know, nobody gives a fuck about me really. And, you know, so at the rehab, everyone's older than me. I'm the young kid and they're obnoxious to me. There's Vietnam vets there that when we're in group are crying. They got like 18 people blown up in Vietnam and shit. You know, this is 82. So, you know, I mean, the Vietnam War had only been over like 8 years. And, you know, everyone was a convict. And I got along with the guys and then the girls, which made it easier. But, you know, in group therapy, they would scream at me. I was reading Lord. This is how we got to Arwen. My escape from there was Lord of the Rings. I read that book 100 times. And when they would yell at me at the group, because they scream at you, they try to break you. They would be like, where's all your elves coming over the fucking hill, Shane? Where's your dwarves coming to see? You know what I mean? You fucking asshole. You know, all that. So there was a guy there from San Bernardino. The way they kept us locked in there is it was an elevator that had one of those round keys that are like in soda, you know, the round ones. And the guy made it. Back then, toothpaste tubes were still made of metal. And he made a key. And he's like, I'm going, you want to go with me? And I'm like, yeah. And we did. We escaped. And we hitchhiked. And the first thing he did when we got to the city was he went to a fucking hospital and put blood in his urine to try to get some Percocets or whatever you do there. And I was like, let's get some guns. Like, I mean, let's get some, what is this? What are you begging narcotics? What are you, fucking lame? Like, well, there's a whole fucking, let's go.
So what'd you do?
I called Case and went home to her. And she was dealing speed. She was getting it from the Hells Angels. She was getting it from a guy that was getting it from them. And I ended up knowing all them. Sonny Barger, all of them. My number and his number were the same. This is later bank robbery shit. But so I get out and I go, give me a shot of that. And she's like, Shane, it's not like Coke, you know. You can't just like every 15 minutes. Because I did one and I go, give me another. And then I'm spun for like 9 days. I stayed up and I hate that shit.
Me too.
I hate it. I'll tell you, I did it in prison too with a biker and it was fucked.
Horrible.
Fucked. How you know, we can talk about this, but in prison, if there's speed on the yard, everybody wants smut mags. They're all jacking off.
Right.
So they're running around before lockdown going, hey, you got any smut mags? Hey, you got any smut mags? And there's like 80 dudes. You know what I mean? Like, and my celly tramp, he hit a bunch of speed and he was like, hey, Shane, you want some? I'm like, nope. I'll keep point for the guard while you make papers, which he make them up to sell them. And then he loaded me a syringe. He's like, here, you know, binky, you know, that's what we used in there. And I'm like, no. He's like, come on, motherfucker. I'm like, okay, fuck it. And I remember as I was pushing it in, I'm like, fuck you, because I hate that shit. And then zing.
It's got to be the worst place to shoot speed in the
why
world.
would you want to do that? You stay up
forever. You're paranoid,
doing twice
crazy.
as much time.
Yeah, exactly.
You're hallucinating. It's no good.
Not good.
Like heroin is the drug to do in there.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. It's peaceful.
I had habits in there. My girlfriend, punk rock girl, used to bring it into me. I was dealing in there. I can explain all that to you.
Hold on though. When you get out of this, you know, the guy you escape with is trying to beg narcotics. You're like, fuck that.
I left him at the hospital. I left him at the hospital.
You bailed on him.
I left him.
You go back to Casey.
Mm-hmm. She's dealing speed.
Is this and where does the bank robbery start?
Okay, that starts a couple years later. Okay, and then Casey gets pregnant, quits stealing.
When you get to Casey, is she supporting your heroin habit?
I was clean.
Okay, how long were you clean then?
Well, because I was in rehab.
But you had left the rehab though.
But I hadn't shot dope yet. You know, we're talking the same day. Like got back. Well, actually, I forgot about this. When I got out of the rehab, I didn't call Casey right away. I called another friend, and he had 6 Holmes Cooney fight tickets he had stole from a fucking Italian restaurant. And he was like, what do we do with them? I go, we go to Vegas and sell them. So we went to Vegas, and we get to the Caesar's Palace, and there's dudes walking around right there by Caesar's Palace going, tickets to the fight. So we sold the tickets. Then we went back, and then I called Casey. That guy, somebody caught him with quarter rolls and broke every bone in his face.
In Vegas?
No, back. And I have a feeling it was the Italians.
That you stole the tickets
And they were looking for me.
Right.
They never found me.
You dodged a bullet there.
They fucked him up. Anyway, okay, so I get back to Case. She's dealing speed. And I'm like, fuck that, I want some coke. And she's dealing, I go, we got to get some heroin. And then it starts, again. Then, once you've had your first habit, 3 days, you're hooked again.
And there's not enough money from Casey's speed business to keep you high.
I ruined her speed business.
Because you did all the speed.
I just fucking was crazy. And I mean, I the longest I ever stayed up on speed was 18 days. I probably had cat naps in between that, but I was crazy. Well,
18 days will make you crazy.
Put my hand through a window, and I got a big scar from it, and just insane. Speed and me don't mix. I'm crazy as fuck on that shit. I mean, real crazy. And but yeah, we started doing dope then, and then she got pregnant, and I went to see a friend of mine. His brother and me were close. He's still alive. They're both still alive. He's actually runs drug programs now. And his brother was in juvenile hall. And I went to see his little brother, and I get to his house, and he's like, man, I've been up on coke. I go, what? And he's like, yeah. And he shows me this fucking bag of coke he got for $10. And I'm like, you got burned, dude. There's no bag of coke that big for $10. Let me have that. It is. It's ether coke. I go, where the fuck did you get this? He goes, a kid at junior high selling it. I go, I'm taking you to junior high tomorrow. And I told Casey, we're taking him to juvenile hall tomorrow. So I didn't have any cash. So there was a drug dealer, this gay speed dealer that Casey was dealing. And I said, hey man, let me borrow a few $100s. And he said, I'll take a chance. And he gave me $10, $20 bills. So we go to the junior high. The guy's name's Hugo. I go, I'm giving you a ride home. He gets in the car. I show him the money. He goes, one moment, please. He runs in his house. He comes out with a fucking sandwich bag of coke. Takes 4 $20 bills. That's it. And I tell the kid, what do you want? He goes, some Vans. And so I take him to the van store, buy him some Vans, and we go to and I take some of it, and I give it to the drug dealer that gave me the money. You dig? And then I proceed to go home and fucking... So the landlord is a drug...
I was sure you were going to rob the kid, but you were like, it's too good a deal not to...
No, and I go, listen, don't deal at school anymore. You want money?
I'll deal with you.
Yeah. And I go home and I take this big mirror and I pour all this coke on, and the landlord's actually a drug addict too. And he comes by, and I'm shooting these big shots of coke and doing convulsions, like falling on the ground. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes.
Okay. So Casey's sitting on the bed. I'm fucking scooping this thing. The landlord comes in and I go, hey, can we pay you in coke? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, hold on. And I do this.
You wanted to pay your rent in coke.
Yeah. And he was like, no. But he was a coke addict. So I give him some, and then I do this big shot, and I fall out on the ground, and the guy's freaking out. He's like, what do I do? And Casey's like, don't worry about it. He does it every 20 minutes.
Every time he shot coke, he'd have a seizure.
I do fucking quarter-gram shots or whatever, like just to the death's doorstep kind of shit. In fact, one time I did a half gram, and I think I had a heart attack because my heart, and I was sick after that. And I read later that that's all symptoms of...
Yeah, probably had cardiac arrest from that. So
the kid kept dealing at the fucking junior high and got busted. So the gay drug dealer...
Where was he getting the cheap coke from?
His family. They were Colombians or something. I don't know what was going on, but that house probably had kilos in it. I figure his name's Hugh, I figure. I don't know. I could tell you the very street even to this day. Anyway, so the coke's gone. The fucking gay guy that gave me the money, the gay dealer, comes over and he wants a kilo. So I lie to him and tell him, yeah, I can get it. Give me 10 grand. I think 10 grand we can get you one. And I just take his money, and me and Casey flee up to San Francisco. Because in punk rock, LA and San Francisco, it's a scene, each one.
How often is someone going to give you 10 grand without you having the fucking kilo on the spot?
I know. I left him in the car and jumped this wall and had Casey wait on the other side. And
that was it. You ran to San Francisco.
And blew the money, of course. You know the deal. And then
And you invested in
Casey's
Apple
pregnant.
stocks?
She's pregnant at the time. She was pregnant. And we get up to punk rock, and everyone knows us from punk rock. There's a band there, Sick Pleasure, Nicky Sicky, and we move in with him. And he just started this other band, Verbal Abuse. And Casey's Miss Punk Rock. And, you know, they welcome us up there. And the Mentors. I don't know if you ever heard of the band,
Sure,
The Mentors.
of course.
Okay, well.
El Duce.
There was a guy in the Lads. I'm a lad too, Los Angeles Death Squad. I helped form it back in the day. There was a lad named Earthquake, Eric, big guy, scary guy. And he was the roadie for the Mentors. And they were up in San Francisco, and he was in my punk rock house. I said, "Hey, Eric, do you know Bobby?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's my uncle. That's the guy I robbed."
Oh my God.
He goes, "Come here, Shane." He takes me outside and he shows me a car. He goes, "You see that car?" He says, "Yeah." He gave it to me to fuck you up. He goes, "But I ain't no corporate man." That was it. Said he didn't find me or whatever, and he kept the car. Later, I buried him. In 2000 something, he got out of prison, and someone gave him my number, Earthquake, and he had really bad liver disease because I ended up with really bad liver disease. I was on interferon and ribavirin during the hepatitis C.
Sure.
About 3 years of it after prison. But, I mean, we got to get there. So I don't know.
How long were you in San Francisco for?
Till Casey was 7 months pregnant. And then we went to Bakersfield because her mom lived there with this guy, Ken, this fucking creep. And she wanted to be there to have the baby. And we were clean there. We got clean there. And we were smoking weed. That was it. And we went and had the baby. I was there when it was delivered.
Was it important for you to be clean at that point?
I just think it was too hard. When we went to Bakersfield.
Were you just scared of like the baby being addicted?
Well, I wanted to try. And Casey was clean at the time, so we tried. And then after we had Arwen, we moved back to LA, and then it started again. And Casey got pregnant with Stormy, my youngest daughter. Stormy was born hooked. Worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. And she went into labor doing a speedball. But I wasn't there. I was in the LA County Hospital with bacterial endocarditis. Do you know what that is? It's when you shoot so much dope, you get a growth on your valve.
Right.
Like a fungus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had that when I was like 19. I was for 90 days, I was in the county hospital. That's when Casey had Stormy.
And what was Stormy came into the world addicted to heroin?
Yeah, bad. They used phenobarbital, but I at some point I remember I went to when you look through the windows at the babies, and it was bad.
Bad how?
She just was like shaking, and it was bad. It was bad. It was not cool because I didn't go to that delivery because Casey was begging him for drugs and they weren't going to give her any. And the singer of my band had showed up there. I was probably in an ambulance going to LA County Hospital, and he had coke and heroin, and she shot it and went into labor.
When did you start playing guitar?
Oh,
when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've always played guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy Page, Keith Richards. In fact, part of my drug addiction
was the heroic, like, idolization of these guys.
And I think that happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens to all of us.
Keith, Graham Parsons,
you know. And Jimmy Page.
Page, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that and punk rock.
The Keith thing is so funny though, because like I never realized that he never did IV drugs until I read that book. That he only skin popped all the time. Like, did you know that when you were a kid?
No, and he had all those scars on his shoulder, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. But Casey met one of his girlfriends that he had during Exile on Main Street. Not Anita, not but one of the, because you probably had, who knows? And she met us, and she was like, "Oh my God, you guys are just like we were when we were, give or take."
So when does it become like we need to rob banks?
Okay.
Unless we're missing anything great in between this time and that
I mean,
time.
It's endless.
I know, but I don't mind. It's very rare we get this much information.
Okay, so Case and I have the girls, and we can't pay our rent. We're hooked, and we're living in a hotel in downtown LA, and the children's services came and took the girls. Casey, because she was born hooked, had to test, and she gave a PCP dirty. Never done PCP in her life.
Casey was born hooked too.
No.
Stormy.
No, I mean, Stormy was born hooked. So Casey then, being
got
a
tested
mom.
all the time.
Right.
Right.
Then the Children's Services steps in.
So how does PCP pop up?
We used Arwen's pee. She would put a bottle up her pussy with a tin foil and you prick it and pee when you sit because they can't. You dig? That's the way we do it. She would use a nail polish remover, small little bottle, and she would put, and we would have Arwen.
And there was a trace of the nail polish remover or something?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know. But they took the girls. They came to the hotel and took the girls from us physically. I jumped on their hood of their car and shit. But they took the girls, and then when we went to court, that's when we robbed the bank. We had no money. The girls weren't with us. We had met bank robbers during the Darby era. And the bank robbers had taught us how to rob banks. There was a couple.
So what's 101 in bank robbery in the early 80s?
Then, okay. If you wear a disguise or change your clothes, like this guy would rob a bank and there'd be a laundromat next door. So he would just go in the laundromat.
Change.
Yeah. I mean, my first bank robbery, I did it on a bus on 7th and Flower downtown. It was a Bank of America. And there were all these buses that came up 8th Street a certain way. And I told Casey, go there. And when you see the buses, like the stack of them, raise your hand and I'll go in the bank. And then you could come out and go through this thing and go into an alley. And I changed the clothes. We got on the bus and the bus made a right on Figueroa. And I'm looking at the bank on the bus as the cops are pulling up. And I'm like, I can do this. You get good at it. It gets good to you. So we got the bank. Then we went to Children's Services.
Hold up, though.
Okay.
How do you rob the bank?
We had $5 left. I had holes in my shoe. We had nothing. The hotel wouldn't let us stay there anymore because I jumped on the car in front. They didn't want the drama.
And you didn't think of a way to get any other. This was like, you were like,
could
fuck
get
it.
no more.
So we were like, and you had heard the story.
We'd been using. Arwen was 4. We'd used up everything we could. The band was gone. We didn't even go to punk rock shows. We were straight living 2 blocks from the Connection, downtown LA. You could get bags, $13 bags, balloons, brown heroin. We were there. That was it. And we got down to having nothing. And nobody we'd call would give us money. No, I mean, what was it? We were there. Everyone gets there. Every drug addict gets to the point where no one will help you. You're either going to steal or you're going to kick. One of the two. And I'm like, fuck it. Casey was like, she's screaming at me. I took care of you.
Now you got to take care of me.
Yeah.
So walk us through the first time you rob a bank.
So the people had told us years before that. It's 86 when I robbed the first bank. So years had gone by. The 81 was when they taught us how to rob banks. Darby died December 6, 1980. And it was right after that they showed us how to rob banks. And I always put it in my back pocket, but I never did it. I just waited. And then we were down to it. And so I went to a toy store and got a gun. Fake gun. And I put my hair in a ponytail.
Didn't you have real guns at the time?
Not then.
Okay.
I had nothing. I had nothing.
Okay.
I might have had a t-shirt. You know, I mean, my shoes, my winos literally had holes. I mean, we were there.
I'm with you. Okay.
I mean.
So you get the fake gun at the store.
Toy gun. Put it in my waist.
Yeah.
Put on Dickies over jeans. Baggy clothes over, you know. Tell Casey, go to the corner. When you see the buses, raise your hand. I'm going to roll in there and rob them. And I rolled in and walked in and showed the teller, raised my shirt, showed the teller my gun. And I'm like, look, we're all going to die in here today unless you give me the fucking money now. You know, and it was just one more teller. I robbed whole banks later. I did a few takeover robberies. But at that time, I'm just learning. You learn it. It's a craft you learn. I robbed 29 of them. By the 14th, I was a professional. You know, I knew exactly what was going to happen, you know.
So first one, you show the gun, you say,
I need the money, give it to me or we're all going to die in here. And she just hands me the money.
How much money did she give you?
$3,500.
Is it in a sack with a big money sign on it?
No. It's loose because they have die packs.
$3,900 loose.
35.
And you want it loose so you don't. There's no.
Yeah,
die
there's
packs.
die packs.
Sure.
At the time in the 80s, they came in $10 bills, and they were called Bandit. deterrence. They literally
I know what
said
you're
it
talking about.
on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then if you can't, you leave it. You know what I mean? So I'd make her spread it, and I grabbed it. I've had Dipex go off. I mean, I had one go off in a cab. I'll tell you about. But because 29 banks, everything happens.
So $3,500, you walk out, you get on the
We
bus.
get on the bus and we're rich.
What do you do?
Right to the connection. Buy a big. I got a paper bag. Bags are $13 a bag. I bought every bag
He
like
had.
5 connections had. Give me everything. Give me everything. Then we went to a hotel, shot up all night. We had to go to court the next day for the kids.
Oh, horrible.
So we got clothes, got dressed up, went in there, and I fucking talked to the judge. And I was like, look, Your Honor, I don't know if you'll understand this, but if she had a heroin dirty or a cocaine dirty, I would say, okay. But PCP, we've never done that drug in our lives. There's just no fucking way. And I know you might not understand that because you're not a drug. But the judge gave them back to us, the kids.
Wow.
But then we started robbing banks with the kids in the car.
What does that look like? And do you use the $3,500 to buy a car too?
Bought a car. I was walking by a car and there was a box in there that said like Ruger or gun. And I kicked the window and there was a gun in the glove box. And then I got a real gun. And then that was it. Then it was real trouble. But what did you ask me?
I don't know. You robbed 29 banks.
Yeah.
First one with a fake gun. Give us some highlights over the 29 robbers.
The third robbery, I got $7,800 because in bank robberies in the 80s, there's 2 drawers. The top drawer has the loose money. The refill drawer is the second drawer. And I went and robbed this First Interstate at Wilshire and La Brea. And when I went in there and I got a day runner. Do you remember those they were like a private notebook
Sure,
I'm
sure.
scheduled. And I wrote in the middle of it, look, gun. And then I'd raise my shirt. We're all dying here today. And I would flip the thing.
That was Darby Crash's guy told you we have to say we're all dying here today?
Was
that the line?
I don't know. I just figured that would.
You have to write a book called We're All Dying Here Today.
I would scare them, I figured, right?
Yeah.
So I would flip it open. But in my discovery, which I have all my paperwork to this day, I never gave the tellers time to read it. They said they'd see, look. And then I'd go and I'd be so, and then I'd show them the gun and they'd know. And the girl bent down and I thought she was going to hide behind the counter, but she was going to the second drawer. And she came up with it was $7,800. And then I was like, oh.
Second drawer.
So then I started saying, give me the bottom drawer, give me the bottom drawer, give me the bottom drawer.
Was it really scary the first time that you did it, or were you so desperate?
And then it got to the point that it was like I didn't even realize it was illegal.
Right.
I mean, if you got away, you thought it was over. The thing about bank robbery is, and I talk about this, but it's 5 seconds, 15 seconds, a minute, whatever it is, then you get away and you think it's over. It's not over. The FBI is just beginning to look for you, and they look for you 24 hours a day, and there's an army of them. And
what about like the guard in the bank?
I never robbed with guards.
There's never a guard in the bank.
I would make case go in and make sure there wasn't a guard in the bank. One bank I robbed, he was on break, and they said later that the guard had actually shot another bank robber, and they said, if he would have caught you.
So you knew never to rob a bank. What makes the right bank to rob for you then?
Security Pacifics were my favorite banks to rob.
Why?
I don't know. I just like
no
them.
Guard.
No bandit barrier first. Now they all have these bandit barriers that, you got to figure out how to get over, or you know what I mean? No guard.
What's the bandit barrier?
It's that plexiglass, when you go in a bank.
The thing that protects the teller.
Supposedly.
Right.
But then what you do when you rob those is you attack you tell them I'm going to kill the customers. They'll give you the money. You know what I mean? Like quick.
What was the biggest score you ever had?
36,000.
Shut up.
Same exact whole bank.
Same exact
the
thing.
whole bank.
How do you have a crew?
No, I was there alone. And it's a good story. So we're broke. We'd rob a bank till we had nothing. Then I was doing them in a cab at that time. I don't know where the girls were. They weren't there that day. But I was robbing banks on PCH. And there was a bank, and it was a Bank of America, and it was kitty corner. It wasn't like, like on the corner. It was kind of like a diagonal bank. I don't know why, but the building was diagonal to the. Okay, so we get a cab driver. Sometimes the cab driver goes, "Show me the money," and I wouldn't have it. And he go, "You ain't getting in this cab, fucking motherfucker," and he'd drive off. This one let us in, and I go, "Listen, I got to go to this bowling alley. My brother works there to get some money, but we're gonna get it." And the guy's like, "Okay, cool." So we go to this bowling alley. Now I'm going to go, the bowling alley has a door here and a door here. He parks here. I'm going to walk through the bowling alley, out this door, rob the bank, walk back in and come out, and you think I'm in the bowling alley, but I'm really robbing the bank. You understand?
You also get to disappear in the bowling alley.
Okay, so you get it, right? So I go in the bank, same routine, one teller, show my fucking, and there was a black woman and she hid. She just ducked. Standing there, got a cab, no money. She's knocking. She's scared. She's like literally shaking.
The teller.
So then I'm like, so I pulled the gun. Gun's fucking plugged. If I point it at you, you're going to go, "What's that?" You know what I mean? So I point at I'm like, "Give me the money, give me the money, give me the money."
You're terrified.
And it was, that's my $36,000 bank.
And they just pumped it out.
They just said it, and I went right down the line.
What's the plug in the gun?
It's a fucking plugged. It's a gun that they put on the wall. It's like a model gun.
I thought you had gotten the gun out of that glove box.
I did. That was later.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still
36 grand on that one.
And when I come out of the bank, there's a siren going off on the bank. I'd never heard one of those before. I got a couple others that happened. And I've been in there a long time and I'm panicking. So I don't run to the bowling alley. I run right to the cab. The cab driver, I get in the cab. He has no idea this is going on, but the whole bank, because it's kitty corner, watches me go to the cab. Cab backs out, stalls.
Oh, my God.
And so we're sitting there, and the cab driver's like, "Hold on." And he gets out. He lifts the hood.
What do you do?
And I'm like telling the case, "I'm going to give you some money. I'm going to run." And then he starts. We go. Okay? So I have him drop me off at a block from the Connections. I go down there, buy all the dope they have, go get a hotel. The next morning, I used to go down there and give junkies money if I was in a good mood. Other times I'd get really mad and I would show them and I go get your own, motherfucker, it's out there. And they go, "You're crazy, motherfucker." But sometimes I'd be in a generous mood and I'd fucking
Robin Hood it out.
And other times it would make me mad because I'm like, "Go fucking
why am I the only junkie who's robbing banks out
what
here?
am I, fucking welfare? Junkie welfare? Fuck you.
Yeah.
So I'm walking down the cop, and there's this guy on crutches, this black guy. And later I found out he was a parolee on the run, and that's why he had he's like, "Shane, come here." And I go, "Fuck you, what? I'm not giving you any money, motherfucker." Like, and he's like, no, come here. I go, "What?" He goes, "The FBI's all over here. They got pictures of you. You're the ponytail bandit." Because they saw the cab, saw the number on the cab. After he dropped us off, I'm sure the FBI got a hold of the cab company and say, "Hey, where did you drop that fucking asshole off?" And then they were down there looking for me. Now, I just fucking turned around and we went to San Francisco. I got caught in San Francisco.
They had pictures of you with the ponytail, and they called you the ponytail bandit.
Never put a disguise. I just would put my hair in a ponytail and rob the bank. That's when I found out I was the ponytail bandit. Yeah. I think that was the 16th bank, and I robbed like 6 more in LA. And
what would you do when you robbed them with the kids in the car?
Oh, well, I robbed them. There's a guy that his daughter was in punk rock. His name is A.I. Bazirides, Buzz. Famous guy. He wrote They Drive by Night. He wrote many movies. He was William Faulkner's best friend. And before all this, I spent the night with the girl. No boñojos, just spent the night with her. And then the morning I went up and was making something to eat, and the parents, they were in their 70s. They were like, loved me. And so I became friends with them more than even the girl. He was a famous movie writer. He created the Big Valley. He had done all this stuff, and I made friends with him, and he would take me down to Cop, and you know, he was like one of the only men, like my grandfather, kind of, okay?
Took you under his wing, kind of thing.
He had an orange thing. You know what a
the
thing
car,
is?
Yeah. Like the
I
Jeep,
robbed banks in that.
In his orange
He'd drive
thing.
me. And I would fucking tell him, "Hey, I got to go in and cash a check. Casey and the girls would be in the car. I'd go in and rob the bank, and then Casey would go, hey, my earring, and I would duck, and he'd drive out of there at 5 miles an hour. Fucking cops would be pulling in the last thing they think.
Is going 5 miles an hour in an orange thing.
No way.
Yeah.
So, but now, he's dead now, but later I thought, oh my God.
You put him at risk.
Are you kidding? They would have fucking killed him.
Yeah.
Because he would have fucking been like, I'm not, he hated cops. You know, he was just like a old, you know. So, but with the girls, one time we were in a cab and I went in the bank and robbed it. And when I came out, I had a dye pack and I made a mistake. Sometimes I would come out of the door with them and just drop them at the door. This time I had it in my hand and I was going to drop it in the gutter. I got in the cab, the door's open, the back door, I'm going to drop it in the gutter, right? And it blows up in my hand. Boom! And they're loud. And then they smoke, and it's tear gas. You know, it's tear gas. So I slam the car door, and gas goes into the cab, and it tear gases the driver. And the driver's like, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, just go. And he realizes...
What
and the girls got tear gassed. My kids, all of us.
Right.
So I gave them like $300, which is like for a $5 ride. Just don't worry about it. And, you know, yeah, not my highest, not
your best moment.
None of that was.
So you wind up in San Francisco and the feds chase you down there?
State got me, not the feds. Yeah, we ran up there because they were really trying to get me down in L.A., and in L.A., they were, at that time, the bank robbery task force was shooting bank robbers and beating the fuck out of them when they caught them. And I had been beaten by the cops enough. I didn't want to get beat by them. A friend of mine had robbed a bank, my friend, and they got his little brother, the same guy, the coke guy, and they beat the fuck out of him. And I was terrified of that.
Were there a lot of bank robbers at that point?
It's the bank robbery capital of the country. At the time I was robbing banks.
So it seemed like a viable option. And it paid for you to do drugs for years. How long did you do it?
Not years. No,
a year?
6 months.
So what happened? You just did so much drugs. You spent so much money.
So much.
That was the most you ever did.
And then also buying cars, hotel rooms.
Living it up.
Being on the run is expensive.
Especially when you have the money to lose a lot of money.
Yeah. And then I'd rob a bank, have a bunch of money till it was gone, rob another one. Never robbed a bank with money in my pocket. I always took it down to the last nickel.
Well, that's what we do. So how do they grab you? How do they snatch you up?
I had gone to a hotel in San Francisco and bumped into a car with my latest car I bought from a used car lot for $400 or whatever it was. Big four-door ghetto sled car. And there was a Chinese guy that had the hotel, and he came out and he gave me a hard time, so I socked him. On a Sunday, the state robbery got together and like, we got to stop this asshole. He's done all this in L.A., now he's up here. Let's get his ass. So they started going to every hotel, every dope fiend motel with a picture of me. They go there. Guy's got a black eye. Do you know this guy? Yeah. Here's his license plate number. He
was happy to give you up because you socked him.
Green car, great Southern hotel. I have the newspaper article. A friend of mine from punk rock, the guitar player for Crucifix, JC. Hey, JC, saved the bank robbery article. I just recently put it on my Instagram. And it said, caught napping in hotel. So they found the car. They sat on the car. I get up, dope sick. Give Casey some change. Go get some candy, Skittles. You know, when a dope sick, you like sugar. You know the deal. So she goes down and they grab her. And they're like, look, where is he? And first she won't tell him. But they're like, look, we ain't leaving. He's going to come down here and we're going to shoot him. So finally she's like, okay, he's in room 305. And I'm asleep with the girls. And I remember I woke up.
How old were they?
2 months and 4.
Wow.
So they catch us. They put a gun to my head. She's like, look, I'll tell you where it is, but you aren't going to beat him up, right? I mean, if he just gives up. And they're like, no. So they told me Thomas Vigo, he's a famous cop. He's the cop that they based Dirty Harry on. Thomas Vigo. Because later I found that out. He was like the famous San Francisco robbery cop. Total cop, too. Anyway, so they catch me. We go to the robbery homicide place. They call the FBI. They got all these photos of me. They're like, sign the photos. say this is me on such a day. They got LA ones too. I'm like, only if she can walk with the girls. I'll only do it if she can walk. And they fucking go have a little meeting and they're like, okay. And I go, no, I got to see her walk out of here. So there was a second story where the stairs come down, you know what I mean? And they held me up there handcuffed and she walked out with the girls. I signed all the things.
And she was free.
In my mind, I'm thinking she's going to go get a little house and the girls and they're going to wait for me as I
do your time, whatever.
Fucking 3 days later, she left him on a doorstep. We never saw her again.
Casey.
Never. Nope. Never
and that was it.
That was it.
And where did the girls wind up?
Foster care.
And you wind up in prison. For how long?
8 years and 23 days.
And that's the sentence that takes you all over the country?
Yep. That's the feds. Yep. I started in California and okay. So first, I'm in there and there's another ponytail bandit named Greg Weiss. And he's from punk rock, kind of. And he's like, hey, do you know Michelle? That's Gerber from punk rock. She's dealing. And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, well, she said I might run into you. And I kind of look out for this kid. He's a goofy kid. And I look out for him in there. I've already been in there about a year. And then I call Michelle. She goes, put me on your visiting list. I do. She comes down, spits 2 balloons in my mouth. I start dealing in there. I mean, a lot. I'm strung out in there. And that leads to disciplinary transfer.
Is she bringing you the dope every time?
Yeah.
How much can she spit in your mouth?
The most I ever got in there was the most drugs I've ever had at one time. I had 14 grams of white heroin in there once.
And how did you get it through?
Balloons. You can swallow it or keister it, depending on how the guards are. You know, like you can, okay, so she puts like 3 grams in each balloon, 5 balloons, 4 balloons, whatever it is. And you can keep them in your mouth. You can barely talk. Or if the cops aren't looking, you can hoop them. You know what I mean? It depends. One time I swallowed a balloon so big, it almost choked me. It took 5 days for that balloon to come out because it had to break. And inside were other balloons. You know, you wrap it a few times. You know, you never just fucking, I mean, it's really protected. I used to keep a keistered outfit in there, and we can talk all about that.
Do you ever use the phrase hooping the shooter?
No, just going to the hoop.
Okay.
Going to the hoop.
That was a famous dopey phrase. My friend Chris, when he was in prison, he had to hoop the shooter.
Okay, so I would keep an outfit in a cigar tube cut down with dope, and I would go, you keep it in the safe. But if I didn't wash my hands,
the safe being your butt,
butthole.
Okay.
If you didn't wash your,
I've never heard of it described as the safe before.
Yeah. If you didn't wash your hands really good with Clorox, you'd shoot up and you'd get cotton fever.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Yeah.
And so that I learned in there too. But I started dealing, and what I should have done is I shouldn't have dealt, because eventually I got transferred I was in Terminal Island, and she could drive down in an hour, spit balloons in my mouth. But I got dirty UAs there, and they put me in the hole for a year there, and then they shipped me to Phoenix. And
what's the hole like there? Is it 23 hours a day by yourself?
Yeah, but it's great.
For a year?
Yeah, I love it.
How do you pass the time like that?
I was high.
You were high in there.
Visiting me.
Right.
I mean, actually, there it's better than the yard, because the problem with drugs, okay, people are gonna find out you got drugs, because dudes literally watch people, and you're getting visits. I mean, there's no way
in the hole you're safe.
If you hit one time, maybe you can get away with it. But if you're consistently, first you got to deal. Okay, that's a problem, because some people don't have money, and you're going to give them a paper. The mob and them, they would take a gram of brown heroin and they would make $20, $50 papers. I would make 10, because if I give you the paper, I don't want you coming back to me saying you didn't get high. I want you to almost die. So there's no excuse there not to pay me, right? But if they don't pay you, if one guy doesn't pay you and you don't do something,
then you're fucked.
Nobody's going to pay you. They're going to go, he didn't pay you, so why the fuck should I?
And did Michelle did you pay her?
Yes. And that's how the problems began, because I got a disciplinary to Phoenix, and then she would have to fly out there and visit me.
And all of a sudden, it's this ridiculous industry.
And so we'd have to bring more dope, and our phone bill was like $800 a month.
The whole thing was out of control.
Out of control. I'm hooked.
In prison, and running out of dope in prison has to be the worst thing ever.
And I'd run out every month because you have a certain amount of points for visits, 1 point an hour. And there's no way that you can make it last. She can only come, she lives 600 miles away. So when she'd fly, so I have a deal with the Mexicans and the blacks. Everybody's racially divided. That when I'd run out, they'd give me dope and I'd give them 2 for 1. If they ran out of dope, I'd give them dope. You know what I mean? So we're all like helping each other, but you always run out. Always. So there was a white dude. The white dudes had the gambling ticket, and I was never a mule, but it got to the point where I had to. You dig? So I was like, yeah, okay, send the drugs to Michelle. Now, Michelle's hooked. She's doing 36 bags a day.
So the guys had a source who would send Michelle drugs, and then...
But I told her it was speed. Because I knew if she knew it was white heroin from New York, it was from New York.
She would do it.
And then what? I'm supposed to bring it in and it's light? Cut? Oh, no.
That's no good.
No, these guys were not cool. It's not like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get, So I send the package. I go, speed. They're going to pay me money. We're going to pay the bill. When I get it, I come in. The guy's like, did you get it? I go, yeah, I got it. Go ahead and send the $800 to Michelle. He goes, no, we'll just deal and sell it and make the money. I go, the phone's going to get turned off. I can deal and sell it. Fuck you. I'll keep a third then, because that's what you get for bringing it in.
For muling it, whatever.
Right. So he had told me it was 3 grams. Well, it was 9, because he had put 3 in each. So I kept one of them, and then all of a sudden it's 3, not 1. So he's already lying to me, right? He's really mad at me about it. But I keep it and deal it, and there, the doors were metal, and they had a cable factory, so I made a cable that would tie the door to the bars, so the cops couldn't have got in, even if they caught me. They did one time. We were fixing in the hole. I had a celly, and the cops were counting, and I remember, and the cop walked by, and my celly said that when he walked by, his head was in the window, and his feet kept walking, but he... and we threw it in the shitter and flushed it, and then they rushed the cell, and there was nothing. They couldn't bust me, but they knew we. Okay, back to Phoenix. I got 1 million drug stories in prison. 1 million. One time I had a paper. I said this on the Andy Roy show, and I needed an outfit, and because you got an outfit, and the guy goes, yeah, but I got AIDS. I'm like, I don't care, and I just shot up. What was I thinking?
Do you hear that story more than you'd think? Bob Forrest?
Yeah.
He did this. He did a similar thing.
Okay.
Not in prison.
Okay.
Though.
Now, Bob Forrest, when I was a junkie, wasn't one yet.
Right.
And they made fun of me. Like, oh, that junkie Shane.
Bob and Anthony and them.
All them guys. Oh, yeah. Because I was fucking ahead of them.
Right.
Way ahead of them.
But they fell in love with all you guys and did the exact same thing.
Yeah, of course. But in fact, Anthony's book says that he was in jail. You can find it. And the feds thought he was a ponytail band, thought he was me.
That's crazy. Did you ever meet him?
Yeah. I met all of them guys. Yeah. Because it was a small scene. Flea. I was actually knew Flea more than I knew any of them. I don't know if he'd remember me now, but he played bass with Fear. Yeah. And we went down there. He got us in once. And he had a Hendrix tattoo.
Yeah.
And I got Son House. And we would always, that blues player, Son House.
Sure.
Okay. So I get this white dope, and me and the whites have a falling out, and then we make up later, and they want to send more dope. And I'm like, okay, they're going to send 14 grams this time. I'm going to get a third of it, right? It's tar. I told Michelle, you can do some of it. Do a shot. It's bunk. Garbage. I go, bring it anyway, because I'm going to make them pay me. I don't give a fuck if it was dirt. I brought it in. You got to pay. You know what I mean? Like, right? So,
but they can't know that though, right?
No, of course not. They think it's all sealed, and I'm playing that off. But they got 2 mules bringing in an ounce, 14 grams each. The other mules, okay, we didn't get it in. Feds were waiting for us. Feds jumped Michelle in the parking lot. They had the gambling ticket, the guys that sent me the dope. And they literally would print one out every week. It said, Denver, I mean, they literally had printed them in the print shop. It was crazy. And some guy owed money on a basketball game, didn't pay. So they paid a guy a gram of dope to hit the guy, and he didn't die. And when he came to, couldn't shut him up with sedatives. Shane, he's the heroin guy. And the feds, Special Agent Steve Emmett was his name. And so I'm getting ready. She's bringing the dope. They call over the intercom, attention on the compound, inmate Enholm, come to the visiting room, kind of thing. And I'm waiting, and they call me. So I go to the back door, and they're like, okay, no, you can't come in, Shane. Go to the rec yard. Now I'm in controlled movement. High-level prisons, you can only move 5 minutes before the hour till 5 minutes after the hour. It's not a free yard. So I have to go to and wait you dig? I don't know why they make me wait 4 or 5 hours. Finally, I get to go to the visit, and I get there, and Michelle's like, I go, what's up? She goes, you don't know? And I go, no, I don't know. What? She goes, I've been with the FBI for the last 4 hours. I'm like, what? I go, where's the dope? Okay. So she's coming in. The FBI have dressed like visitors. And when they see Michelle, they jump her. They can't search her on the compound. Now, in this prison in Phoenix, Black Canyon, there's a women's prison satellite, but there's a desert. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's a desert trail you got to walk through to get there. And they have like a shooting range. It's a compound. So she has 14 grams of heroin bunk up her pussy and a dress with panties. And she has pockets in the dress. So when she's walking on the trail, she pushes it out of her cooch and drops it on the trail and kicks it into the desert. So by the time they get her there and they squat her over a mirror,
there's nothing there.
And they're mad. They're real mad because they're sure they got it. They probably had the phone calls.
Everything.
And there's no dope. So they have to let her see me. So she sees me. I'm like, okay, where's the dope? She tells me. I'm like, okay. So I come back in, and the white dude, he's shaking his head. He's a real piece of shit, this guy. And he's shaking his head, and he's like, what happened? I go, she kicked the dope out under the... He goes, you got to go get it. And I'm like, fuck you, motherfucker. It's over. You ruined my hustle. You fucking guys with your fucking gambling ticket. We're committing a criminal act. There's no guarantees. Shit goes wrong, it goes wrong. The dope's in the fucking desert, that's it. The other guy...
And you don't tell him it's bunk.
No, but the other guy brings it in. And he goes, I think she stole it and called the FBI on herself. That's what he says to me. And I'm mad. Because none of that's true. Fuck no. The piped guy, we found out. It's all going to come out. We're going to know. But at the time, we don't know. The bunk dope comes in. They shoot it. It's garbage. So I go over to his cell. I go, yeah, motherfucker. You think my fucking girlfriend wasn't smart enough that if she shot that dope and it was garbage, she would have kept it? What are you, a fucking idiot? And I walk away because he bought an ounce from Ray, this guy Ray. Next day, attention on the compound. Shane, report to the lieutenant's office. I know. The FBI is going to be there. So Sonny Barger, his number's 82740, mine was 82707. We went through the system together, me and the Hells Angels. Like, they thought I was a Hells Angel. I had long hair when I got caught, and they put me in the cell with all of them, and they probably thought I was a rat until we went to arraignment, and they're like, this guy's busted for $1 million bank robbery, and then they knew I wasn't. Anyway.
Did you get along good with them?
Yeah. Him in particular. And he was like, Shane, he had this thing. He's like, Shane, because they wanted him for a murder. And he said, when the guards produce you, they got to produce you. For any law enforcement agency comes to a prison, they got to produce you. But if you tell the guard, I don't want to talk to this fucking guy, they got to move you. You dig? So I knew that. Sonny taught me that. So I'm like, okay, so the FBI, I go in there, going to SIS is the name of the investigating lieutenant. It was a Victoria the Stike. And I walk in there and I'm like, hey, Lieutenant. And then the guy goes, do you know who I am? I go, no. He goes, I'm Special Agent Steve Emmett. I go, oh, yeah. Yeah, you met Michelle, huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, I think you're dealing, Shane. I go, oh, yeah? Where's all my commissary? Where's my shoes? He goes, I think you're shooting it. He was right. He knew. And I go, okay, motherfucker. You made her squat over a mirror. Where's the dope? And then I told Victoria, I don't want to talk to this guy. And she's like, okay. I go, am I going to the hole? She goes, no, Shane, go back to your cell. As I'm walking away, he points at me and he goes, I'm going to fucking ruin you and Michelle. And I go, take your best shot, asshole. And he did. He ruined us.
How did he do it?
They put pressure on Michelle. They kicked in her door. They kicked in my mom's door. They just went full on. And
that ended the business.
Well, and then one morning, or no, at 4 o'clock count, they're like, Enholm, report to the, and I think I'm going to get UA'd. And they lock us all up for a food strike. Possible involvement. I have the letter. Possible involvement in a possible food strike. And I wrote the warden. I go, your fucking son could possibly be. And he goes, don't ever write me again. And then he sent me back here. And that's how I ended up in the East. What they did is made sure I'd never get another visit again because they couldn't catch me. They knew it. They probably had phone. I mean, we were pretty loose.
Let me ask you this, though. In that Andy show, which is called Filling Time, which is an amazing show, you show your prison pictures.
Yeah.
And you're fucking fit as hell.
Okay, that was only in the East.
Because you were off the dope.
Once I kicked,
right,
and they shipped 6 white guys east. What they would do in the feds at that time is if you were a troublemaker and they couldn't get you, they would invent some kind of conspiracy and they would take 6 guys from the East Coast, move them west. 6 guys from the West Coast, move them east. And that was the way to fuck with troublemakers.
How different was prison here than there?
Completely.
How?
I loved it out here. Okay, first, California's occupied Mexico. Who do you think controls the prisons in California? Mexicans. The mob. Mexican mob. And AB too, but the AB is affiliated with the Mexican mob.
What's the AB?
The Aryan Brotherhood.
Okay.
They're tied in with them.
I should have known that.
Right. It's okay. Those are the people calling the shots. They decide everything for us. The big homies. They say something, you got to do it. You'll get killed because they got 1 million 18, 19-year-old guys that want to be in it.
And you were AB?
No.
Where
I
were
was
you?
never anything.
Okay. Does that make you an other?
No. I was a white guy, but I just never...
You never joined anything?
Never wanted to. I never, and they groom you. I had a chance with the DWB, the Dirty White Boys too, because they want a smart...
crafty, bank robbing, dope dealing.
Well, they a lot of them guys are really smart and well read, and that's me. I read constantly. And my grandfather told me when I was little, if you don't go to just read, and I read ferociously. Like sometimes, like right now, I'm reading 3 books. Like I'm on it. Like I love written word. Anyway. So I go east, and the Puerto Ricans run with the blacks. Well, out west, the Mexicans run with the whites. So I get to the east, and the first thing I see is these guys. I go, hey, man, get me some clothes. And they're like, fuck you, white boy. And I'm like, okay, it's different. You know what I mean? Like, I got to adjust. But I loved it. I'll tell you why. And me and the guard that I tattooed, I don't know if we talked about that yet.
We did, a little bit.
We talked about that.
In the beginning, yeah, okay.
In the east...
The race lines are different.
It's not as politicky. In the West, you can't even talk to a black guy.
See, I think that's also like if you look at Los Angeles itself. In Los Angeles, the neighborhoods are so racially divided, and here everybody is basically together.
In California, they take everything away from any group, men, women. First thing you do is divide by race. Next, neighborhoods. So out here, not as much. And I like that. And then me and this other guy, Skip Eakes, Gordon Eakes. He was a bank robber from San Diego. Older guy, twice my age. He turned 44 when I was in there. And I go, no, you ain't 44. You're 22 twice. Bunch of pictures of us. Great guy. Taught me a lot. We celled together. And then I started exercising. Because I would hear rumors of Michelle fucking guys and, all that. And it would drive me nuts. So I began exercising. I became the pull-up champion. I was a pull-up champion. There was a guy in here, the New Jersey Parkway Bandit, Jimmy Cassiano. If you're alive, Jimmy, I don't think you are. You had a 30-year sentence, but I love you. he had polio. So he had to put 6 pairs of socks on to put his shoes on. But I didn't know that. But when he had his shirt off, he was weighing himself. And I said, he goes, you want to work out with me? And I go, yeah. And we started working out. He was a pull-up guy. One time I held his feet when he was doing, and he fucking freaked because they were, and he walked like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I got obsessed with that. And I loved it. So we still did heroin in the East, but I wasn't dealing. So maybe what ended up happening is Skip and I, we were in Raybrook, New York. And the fucking guy up there that ran the laundry, his name was Mr. Perry. And he was the laundry plant manager. And he would only issue like underwear every 6 months. And they'd give you those whitey, tighty. And I am a boxer guy. I'm a California guy. And so it drove me crazy. And he wouldn't let them have T-shirts or anything. Me and Skip work in the laundry. So we started stealing laundry, selling it. We sold so much fucking, we called it the George Jean haberdashery. Because there was a guy in there. Skip worked the window. I worked the back. They would never let me work the window. I worked the machines. I was the guy that ran the jet machines. I'm ripping this up. Anyway, there was a guy that would come every day to the window and he'd change the sheet. And Skip's at the window. It's where you would come change your dirty sheets. And he had so much, he's a black guy from Washington, D.C. He had so much hair food and his hair looked green. And we never knew if his name was George Jean or Jean George, but he was in there for filleting his wife's coochie. He caught her cheating, killed her. DC.
Horrible.
Right. But
what do you mean hair food, though?
It's that green stuff that the black guys put in their hair. I don't know. It's called hair food.
Okay.
It's green.
Okay.
So he would come to the window and I go, what's his name? Jean George or George Jean? And we didn't know. So we called our robbery. We were stealing the George George haberdashery, which we were selling the laundry. And I got like $500 worth of quarters saved up. And in Raybrook, that's way up by Montreal, no drugs in the winter, but in the summer, a bus from the Bronx, all those Puerto Ricans and come up and they're sealed New York
White.
Screaming. And we're clean. So we can split one dime bag.
And get wasted.
And I love New York mafia, stamped, white. When it's good, it's good.
Yeah, who doesn't? It's the best.
It's the best.
So how do you wind up ever getting sober? When did you get out of prison?
I got out the day before Thanksgiving, 1993. And when I got...
Here or out there?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And when I got out, I went right the first night. When I got out, Casey's gone. The kids had been in foster care. The first night, the foster father picked me up with my daughters. I sat between them. Now, I'm tripping. I'm in the world. And we go to the foster home. They're living with 60 cats in the house. There's a hole.
They weren't on the East Coast, though.
No, West Coast.
So you flew out there.
Yeah, I flew out, yeah. And then they picked me up at the airport. And I went and stayed the night with my daughters at the foster. Okay, there is a hole in the bathroom that the cats peed till there was a hole. They had to step over to go to the bathroom. I had to take a shovel from the fucking fireplace to break the cat shit off my daughter's floor. They stunk like cat shit. Cats were fucking in the living room. It was insane. The foster mother hated the foster father, and the way she would get at him was to have cats. And they were literally, I mean, that place stunk. And I was like, holy shit. My poor girls.
How old were they at that point?
Arwen was 12. She was right at the age where if I didn't do something, some
it was going to go real
15-year-old
bad.
guy was going to grab her, and that was going to be it.
Right.
She always had a sheen of sweat on her face. They never wanted to be in the house. They always stayed at their friends. It was bad.
And Stormy was 8, 9?
Yeah. And they had a dog in the when you walked through the front door, they had it boarded up, and they had a dog living on the stairs. So you had to go through the back door, and the back door had no railing. It was gnarly. I could sit here and describe it all day and could never tell you how bad it was.
Yeah, I get it.
And I felt
so bad. So guilty.
Killed me, man. So I remember I thought I was standing out in the driveway smoking a cigarette, And I thought, maybe I'll kill them. And then the girls will go to another place. I'll go back to prison. I like it there. I mean, I don't like it out here. But I went to a meeting. I don't know why. I knew from synergy from when I was a kid, but I went to an AA meeting.
No meetings when you were in prison.
Oh, fuck no. No. But I went then. And there was a guy just got out too. And he had been like on his 60th day of the 90 meetings in 90 days. And stickman, robber. And he brought me his fucking, we were looking at our prison photo. You know what I mean? He was getting clean and I stuck with him and his brother. His brother had been out and got clean and now he was getting clean. And so he's like, listen, I'll pick you up every day. I got 30 more days. You know what I mean? And that's what I did.
So your first day you go to a meeting and you're like, you see your daughters and you're
still
like.
Didn't get clean.
Okay.
I went, I remember one of the times, I don't know when, but it kind of all blurred together. When I got out, there was a guy I was in with named Old Man Jimmy Thomas. And he's in Eddie Bunker. You know, Eddie Bunker wrote these prison books. He's the guy, he's in Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
He's Mr. Whatever, the one guy that gets killed.
Right.
Famous convict, was in Foley. Jimmy knew him. He writes about Jimmy. Jimmy's this old guy. I'll show you pictures of me and him. He loved me in there. And they used to say, like, father, like son. I was so proud. He had 13 murders. Fucking, I can tell you about some of them. Just nut. He got a life, in 1966, he got a life sentence for the state and 25 for the feds. And he's the one that told me, Shane, never give up. I had life and 25 and I was out in 12. So never give up.
How did you get out so quickly?
Oh, I didn't. I did every day of my sentence. They gave me 10 years for knowingly carrying a firearm during a crime of violence. In the 80s, a firearm is anything that shoots a missile.
Right.
Well, my gun can't fire. It's toy. So make it fire and I'll do the firearm time. Can't make it fire. You can only give me the sentence boiled down to 7. And by the time I won my appeal on the gun, I was already in past the 7, so they had to let me out. That kind of thing. You dig?
Yes.
Okay. So Jimmy's out at the same time I'm out. We have the same parole officer. And he came and picked me up, and we're not supposed to see each other. And must be in his 60s. And he's like, Shane, what's happening? You know, and I knew him on the West Coast. We were in the joint together, and he always wanted me to tattoo John Wesley Harding on him because John Wesley Harding was the guy in the fucking Time Life commercial that was so mean. He made shot a guy over snoring, and Jimmy liked that, you know. And anyway, so I'm at the kid's house, and I go hang out with Jimmy a little bit, and he's tweaking, and he's in that world, and I'd only go once in a while, and I don't tell any of my AA friends I'm seeing him, but we have the same, David Elias, the same parole officer. We have 2 parole officers, and I had 2, Don Hart and David Elias. Don's dead now, fucking prick. Anyway, Jimmy's like, hey, man, I got to go pick a kilo. I can't get a job. The kids are living in this fucking house. One time I walked in the house and the foster mother has Arwen by her hair and she's spraying Windex in her eyes. And I walk in on it and I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And so Jimmy's like, hey man, this guy owes me a pound of speed in Lancaster. You want to go get it? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, I'll pick you up tomorrow. The 93 earthquake or 94 earthquake, Northridge had happened. And I'm going to go with Jimmy the next day to pick up this pound of speed. And I think, fuck it, I'll just go criminal. I've been out a month, 2 months, whatever it is. Because I think that was January 18th. I got out beginning of December, end of November, beginning of December. I've been out about 45 days. So I'm like, I can't get a job. Fuck this shit. Okay, Jimmy, I'm with you. Let's go get the speed and let's start running amok. Still haven't used. That night, a guy, Nick Hovick, who sees me online now. Hey, Nick Hovick, I hope you see this. He called me and he's like, hey, you need a job? I got your name. Meet me tomorrow at this job site and you can chat. Okay, my problem is I couldn't tattoo. I could tattoo, but he's like, no, they're dens of iniquity. This is fucking 93. This is before it. So he's like, there's no way you're fucking working.
You had learned how to tattoo in prison?
I knew a little before. I started tattooing myself when I was 12. So I had been around it before and during, and I'd always been around tattooing. I was one of the youngest punk rock kids, like with big tattoos,
right?
because I live near the Pike in Long Beach, and you know, the first guys I saw with those professionals had were TSOL, those guys, and every punk rock kid in Long Beach got tattooed at the Pike. They didn't care how old you were. I was 16. Human Steve Fowder, he was the bass player for the Vandals, was one of my closest friends, and he was and he took me down there, and I got a hot stuff, whatever. Okay, so back to so Jimmy's like, I'm gonna pick you up. So this guy Nick calls me. He goes, you want a job? Meet me at 6 o'clock at this house. We're going to jackhammer a chimney. And I'm in great physical shape. And so I called Jimmy and I go, hey, Jimmy, man. Oh, now Jimmy was the technical advisor in a Dustin Hoffman movie called Straight Time about bank robbers in the 70s. You guys should watch it. And he's in the movie. He taught Harry Dean Stanton and Dustin Hoffman how to rob banks. And him and his crime partner, Old Man John, were being the technical advisors in San Bernardino in the morning and robbing banks for real in the afternoon during this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Straight Time. Dustin Hoffman, watch it.
Good movie.
Yeah, he plays a convict so good.
So you decide not to do the thing with Jimmy.
I call him and I beg off. And, you know, I'm like, Jimmy, I got this chance to get a job. I really want to try to, you know, my kids, they need me. And Jimmy's like, all right. He fucking gets another guy my age to drive up there. They're driving in the rain, 70 miles an hour, lose control of the car, hits a telephone pole, kills the kid in the passenger seat.
That would have been you.
Yeah, it would have been me. It was a God shot. You know how you get those God shots?
Yeah.
And Jimmy, like, I didn't know that happened. Like 3 days later, he calls me from the hospital. He's like, electrical shocks. When I go, what the fuck's going on, Jimmy? He's like, I got a broken neck. I go, what? He goes, yeah, I was driving up there to get that. And
yeah, it's crazy. Very, very fortunate.
So I'm like, oh my God. So I get the job. I excel. I'm jackhammering 3 chimneys a day. I'm making money. Nick's like, you're the lead guy. I start reading books on carpentry, and you know what I mean? And another friend of mine from prison, David Bianchini, is a Vietnam vet. He's like, Shane, don't be a carpenter. You're a talented guy. Do not do that. Get into your art. And at the time, I'm like, fuck you, man. I got kids. I'm going to fucking do that. I'm making $10 an hour. Are you crazy? So one day I go over to get the kids. I mean, they're going to spend the weekend with me. And Arwen had slammed her door in the car, and the foster fathers were going, wah, wah, wah at her. So I tell the girls, get whatever you want. You're never coming back here. And I take them to my house. I'm with this other chick, square chick, Amanda. She had my son, who within a year, I had another kid. And I was bummed. I didn't want another kid. I wanted, you know, but it doesn't matter. I had the girls. So I take the girls home. Weekend's over. I'm supposed to take him back. Foster father calls me. I go, I ain't bringing him back. Fuck you. And he's like, he calls about 2 a.m. The fucking state calls me, the broad, the children's worker. And she's like, Shane, we'll put you back in prison. I go, you can fucking do anything you want to me. Go to that fucking house. And then if you really want me to bring him back, if you go look in that house, I'll bring him.
Did they go?
No. Yeah, they went.
And that was that.
And then it wasn't as easy. I've told this story before, but I had to get CPR. They had to approve the house, you know, went on and on. Okay. Well, Arwen is so fucked up that about every 2 weeks she gets this guttural voice. Nobody loves me, like Linda Blair.
Right.
And I would have to hold her on the bed because she'd fight and wrap my legs and go, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I love you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Until she'd finally cry. And this would go on like every 2 weeks. And the girl I was with,
Amanda,
she was like, I can't do this. You got to give him back. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you. We're doing this. I'm not having a kid with you. And no. And slowly Arwen got better. She slowly went from 2 weeks to a month and on and on. And Amanda did good. She became their mom. She really did. But she had to get paid to do it. So the state had to, you dig? Like, I mean,
I'm sure that foster family got paid to do it, right? By the state.
Yeah, and they wanted the money back.
Of course.
So then Amanda, I couldn't get it because, you know, okay. So I owe a 5-year tail after, you know, they put on my thing. Well, I called the Codaphone. They missed it.
Wait, what is that? Explain.
Code of phone's when you call.
No, explain the 5-year tail.
Okay, one of the counts of the bank robbery, they gave me 5 years probation, which means they're going to watch me for 5 years. When I first got out, I owed them 6 months like parole. And then the 5 years was going to start. They missed it. I called, and the code of phone, which is a phone you call every day, number 805, you have to test. And then you go in and pee, and they check the specific gravity. You can't beat them. I mean, they check. You could drink water, and then the specific gravity's low. I mean, you can't beat the feds. You can't beat them. Now I think they do hair. But at that time, I was clean. I call the code of phone. Testing's over.
You were clean because you couldn't handle the idea of going back.
I had the kids needed me. I was, but I had straightened all that out. Call the code of phone. No more tests. I'm going downtown. I'm getting me a bag.
Where did you go?
Right where I copped when I was a bank robber, 5th and Spring.
Yeah.
6th, 7th and Spring.
I lived out there, and that's where I would get it.
Yep.
And it was that spot for years and years and years and
bags
years.
were $5 a bag.
I know.
And $2 bags of Coke. You could get your fucking bell rung for $7. I'm doing construction.
How does it get cheaper? How does that happen? Because when I was there, it was $5 a bag.
Okay.
And that was in 2002.
Okay. In 1980, now look, getting into drugs. This is my favorite subject. Of course, I'm a drug addict. When I first started doing heroin, 2 for $35, $20 bags. Then it went to 13. Go to prison for 10 years, get out, it's a nickel bag. And at first I'm trying to give the dealer more money.
Me too, that's exactly what happened
I'm
to
like,
me.
$5, just take more. And he's like, no, it's $5 a bag. I'm like, is he burning me? You know what I mean? And I go, what about Coke? He goes, $2. Okay.
Why?
I know with the Coke, they just really wanted to flood the market. And I remember before prison, it went from 100 a gram down to 60 a gram, down to 30 a gram, But the heroin, I think the economy maybe, I don't know. It went to $5 a bag and I'm working.
You don't think it was some kind of Mexican tar production or something?
Maybe. It was good. The dope was good. Nickel bags were good.
When I was there, it was good sometimes, and then eventually it got real dry and shitty.
Well, the problem, yes. What happened?
It was like white.
They busted it. They busted it. They busted the downtown. When I was copping in 2000, like after prison and all that, man, Spring Street.
When were you there in the end? You were there. Were you there in 2001, 2002, 2000? So we were there at the same time. That's weird.
2004.
I was there every morning before the sun would come up.
That's when I cop.
Yeah,
we were there together then. I'd go there because that was the safest time to cop.
Yeah, and no one was there.
And they would sell packets.
Paquete.
Okay, you're hip. Right, 50, 55 bucks, whatever it is, for 13, 12, whatever.
That's great. Yeah.
Right, okay. And that's when I'd go in the morning. And there was a guy, Shorty, that I used to cop from the Coke. But he had dope too. But it would cop right at 6 Spring and
I didn't even notice
6th.
anyone had Coke. I was just buying the dope.
Oh yeah, they had it.
And Klonopins.
Oh no, I never bought no pills from nobody. But
there was a blind dealer I used to cop from down the road named Sergio.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I wish I did. But so then I'm hooked again, using. I start losing weight. I'm still working the job, eventually I ended up on methadone.
Me too. Where did you go?
Pacific, in the Valley. But
I went to that spot right near downtown that
oh yeah, Hill, 5th and Hill.
No, it was by Echo Park.
Oh, okay, yeah. Bart?
Yeah,
was it
Bart Beverly.
Yeah.
That's right. I was there for 5 years.
I'm a true believer in methadone. I am. I believe if you do not add it to your portfolio of narcotics.
If you use it for what it's for.
If you do,
you can get off.
You can have a good life.
100%.
You can have a good life, even on maintenance.
I didn't believe that until we started doing the show. And a friend of mine in high school started running a clinic, and he was like, you're giving methadone a bad name. Because I would get high before I did the methadone every day.
Yeah, as long as you don't add it to anything else. Now, a lot of things about methadone are lies. It doesn't hurt your bones. It's a benign substance. Do you know all that?
I've heard both.
Okay.
I hear it's in my joints. I hear my knees clicking still. I'm like, it's that methadone.
No, it's not, though. Right, let me tell you what happened. And there's a book that the Surgeon General In 90, it came out. Or 2000, well, I forget. Okay. But in 1968, when Dole and Niswander were the guys that took methadone and started giving it to addicts here in New York at Beth Israel or wherever the fuck it was. Might have been, it doesn't matter. They were looking for federal funding, and Phoenix House wanted federal funding too. And so Phoenix House was abstinence, methadone. So they came up with it's called after Adolf Hitler, which isn't true.
Adolphine.
Dolphine.
Yeah,
A dol is a pain measurement in Germany. You know all this though, right? Okay, it doesn't hurt your teeth. It doesn't hurt your bones. It's a benign substance. They came up with the rap. Oh, it turns your organs, all that crap that you hear. And you still hear addicts talk about it. It's the lifestyle. And the problem with methadone addicts is they don't quit doing pills and fucking coke.
And crack.
And so, but if you, with me, I did methadone. I was on maintenance.
So you wanted to get sober.
And I used it
perfectly.
Never cheated, got weeks of take homes, everything perfect, boom, done. You know what I mean?
And you got sober on methadone then.
And it worked so good for me. It was a dream. And I used to say when I took my dose, it's my golden 10 minutes.
Explain.
Well, when you're on it, maintenance anyway, you drink it, you have a coffee, eat some breakfast,
smoke a cigarette.
You get that little, like golden 10 minutes. You know what I mean? But it goes, okay. No, what happened was...
Did you smoke cigarettes at the time?
I still smoke.
Okay.
Bugler.
Okay.
Rollies.
Yes.
Okay. I actually only have a 10% chance of having a heart attack in the next... So I go to the doctor and I'm like, hey, what the fuck, man? I've been smoking my whole life. They're like, blow on this. And they're like, oh, a non-smoker. And I'm like, no, I smoke. And they're like, bullshit, blow again. But I think it's because I don't smoke tailor-mades. You roll less tobacco.
Your physiology can handle nicotine.
And some
cigarettes.
people, and nicotine.
Mine could not.
Okay. But with that, what happened was me and Amanda broke up, the mother of my son. I ended up in a room. This is 2004. Okay, wait. We got to back up. I got hepatitis C. While I was in prison, a liver doctor came to see me and he goes, dude, you need to go to Springfield and begin interferon right away. You're sick. And I laughed at him. I'm like, I'm fucking the pull-up champion. Fuck you. I had cirrhosis. I was fucking sick. I ended up at the transplant center at USC from 1997 till, I don't know, Amanda, 2004, 3? Because I went on interferon a few times. I had genotype 2, but I had already developed splenomegalia. Do you know what that is? Okay. When you get hepatitis C, the cirrhosis doesn't kill you. Your liver scars in circles, nodules it's called, and alcoholic cirrhosis is micronodular. Hepatitis C is macronodular. I studied it. I was a nut because I was sick. They said when they did my biopsy, they couldn't do it at first because I didn't have enough platelets. Because what happens is the blood goes to your liver and your liver can't get the blood through it. You have a portal vein that goes to your spleen, and your spleen swells up, and you get a condition called splenomegalia. Your spleen's job is to eat all the blood cells and the platelets that your body doesn't use. But when it backs up, it eats the good ones too. So your platelets, when they drop below 100, that's cirrhosis. That's when you're...
Okay.
And mine were like 70.
Right.
So when they did the biopsy, they're going to do it, and then you don't have enough platelets. You got to go see the oncologist. And then I knew I was really sick. But I told Amanda, she dropped me at the hospital, and she's like, oh, it's something you ate. She never would ever...
Imagine that it was as bad as it was.
Well, and my counselor told me, Shane, whether you go into the grave or you walk out the door, you're leaving her. So when they finally did the biopsy, I have fucking cirrhosis of the liver, I have dysuria hepatic cords, splenomegalia, you name it, crystalline, I was fucked. And I started interferon ribavirin. There was a Dr. Karula, and he didn't like me. I'm tattooed. I'm an ex-convict. I could just tell. So the minute I had a problem, he cut it off. I go, what do we do now? You wait. When am I going to... You're going to have complete liver failure within a few years. What's a few? Is it couples 2? What's a few? 3? Yeah. But there was a young doctor named Dr. Jeffrey Kahn. I still keep his card in my wallet. And I went down to the USC Transplant Center. That's where I was. I was doing clinics, it's called, where sometimes they stick a camera down your throat to see if you got esophageal varices. I had one pop. I was in a coma 9 days. I can tell you about that too. But sometimes they stick it up your butt, whatever. But he saw me and he goes, Shane, you're too young to be, I was like 36 or you're too young to be this sick. I think we can treat it with interferon and ribavirin. But he cut the doses in half. And he gave me a thing called Procrite, which they give to cancer patients to raise their platelets and red blood cells. And I went on it. And it fucking worked.
Amazing.
I beat it 2003 or 4, but I was clean for all that too.
When did you start the methadone to actually get off heroin?
Oh, I was on that 94, 90, right after the first run.
But you were still copping on downtown in the early 2000s.
Well, I relapsed after I beat the hepatitis.
Right. You could get away with it for a minute. And then
I'm a drug addict, man.
Listen, so am I. I'm with you.
Okay.
So, but I just want to know, so then you get on methadone.
Well, the judge recommended it from federal prison.
I love that you did it the way that it's like meant to be done. And I love that you advocate for people that are doing it that way because they don't have a voice. And giving them a voice is very important because everybody shits on the methadonians.
That's right. But, and that there's always a problem when I was on methadone. I go to meetings and I get a sponsor and I start working it. But the minute I tell them,
they're like, you're not sober.
That's right.
Right.
And the truth is they should have some kind of thing in between.
100%.
And it worked for me.
And you started going to meetings on the methadone?
Yeah. And every time I get a sponsor.
So what did you do? Were you sponsorless then, or you just didn't tell them?
Yeah, no. I would use the sponsor and take advice and, stick with the winners, not the losers. We only keep what we give away. The whole thing. Some are sicker than others, And the last time I did it, I didn't get a sponsor, but I had already done like step 4, the writing, all that. So I knew what to do. And yeah, I'm a firm believer and I will argue with anybody about it.
How'd you get off of it?
Slowly.
How slow?
Milligram every week or two.
I got off 150 in a year without knowing.
In the blind. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Because your mind will fuck with you. So I signed a thing saying, do not.
That's what I did the same thing.
Do not tell me. And then one day.
It was done.
It's over.
Well, I went to 30 and then I went to detox. That's what I did because I needed to get out of California.
Well, one of the problems with methadone, you gain weight on it.
Yes.
It slows your metabolism and you'll see some junkie go in there.
You're thick with methadone.
And I saw a lot of old people fucked up on that. And I used to think it was that, but it's all of it.
I think people probably think the bone shit also, because if you go to a methadone clinic anywhere, 60% of the people have canes. So, everybody has a cane. Everybody's hunched over.
Right. I don't know if they give up exercise. I'm
sure it's a lot of, and they're all probably smoking crack too, though.
But I remember when I started gaining weight on it. And I'm like, what the fuck? I've never been a big guy. You know what I mean? But I knew it was that. Yeah.
So was it vanity that got you off the methadone then?
No.
You were just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Chained to the fucking clinic. I'm getting weeks of
liquid handcuffs.
I'm traveling and doing things and
you got into tattooing at that point?
Once I was off parole, I started tattooing again, yeah. And I didn't really dive into it till I was cured from hepatitis because I never wanted to have to deal. Nobody wants a hepatitis fucking sick motherfucker to be tattooing you. You dig what I'm saying? So that kept me kind of away from it because I'm too honest of a person. And, the thing about tattooing is you spend a lot of time talking
to the client.
Yeah. I've never been a great tattoo artist. I'm impatient. The best tattoo artists are slow and they're patient. My oil paintings.
I've seen a lot of your oil paintings.
Yeah. Now that I'm good at. I do it alone. Nobody but people, because what ends up happening is you start tattooing somebody, they move. They're in pain. They want you to change it. And if you don't change this, I can make this look really fucking good, but you're going to fuck it up putting your kids' names all,
Yeah.
Okay. But in tattooing was another salvation for me because I pointed my fucking focus on tattoo machines. I've written 2 books.
About tattoo machines. I saw that.
Antique tattoo machines, yes.
Amazing.
Tattoo history is word of mouth. And at the time I got into it, there were no books on it. 2 books. One written in 1930, A Secret of Strange Art by Albert Perry, and then another one written by Huck Spalding. But my father collects antiques. He's dead now, and so for some reason, and I started buying old machines, and then I'm like, why? And I'd ask people, nobody knew. So Scott Sterling, who's like a famous machine builder guy, he's old, he's 10 years older than me. We ended up being friends, and I drive 16 hours just to see a spring on some fucking old tattoo machine. And so during COVID, I wrote the book.
That's awesome.
They were bugging me to write it. And I'm like, I'm never writing a book. I'm not making a manual on how to make fake tattoo machines. Fuck you guys. Because they didn't know how many times to wrap the wire. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not teaching some piece of shit. But then COVID hit. So the books aren't even really about tattoo machines. They're about my relationship with tattoo machines.
It's awesome. And like, when did you find yourself so invested in your recovery?
I think always. But I think when I decide to do it, I dive. You know what I mean? But now and this is me, and God bless, 12 steps works. It works. Now they're saying it's antiquated, not bullshit. It works because they don't tell you this, but you find spiritual. That's the whole ticket.
It's all spiritual principles.
Well, and what I always say is about us as a country fighting Muslims, you can't beat them. They pray 5 times a day. They're already saved. How the fuck you can kill them, and that's what they want. You can't beat somebody that has a connection to God.
You can't beat somebody who's surrendered.
And yes, you can't. And it's the same with getting clean.
Surrender.
Yeah. But it was a hard struggle for me.
Listen, your story is unbelievable. I cannot thank you enough for coming. The thing I wanted to talk about that I saw,
Okay.
I can't help it.
Okay.
You talked about that book, Diary of a Drug Fiend, in that Aleister Crowley book.
Trying to get clean.
I read that book trying to get clean too.
Useless.
Well, yeah. It's useless because he gets clean by saying, all you need is all the heroin you're ever going to want. And that's how you're going to get sober.
Okay. Now, if you want to talk a couple of things I want to talk about. Okay. My friend Steve Fowler was the bass player of the Vandals, is dead now. He died. He couldn't get clean. He's the smartest guy I know. And sometimes you're too smart for the steps.
Sure.
You question it too much.
You poke holes.
He was one of him. He was that. But I told you I had bacterial endocarditis because we're drug addicts. When we do coke, you ever carpet farmed?
Meaning, yes.
For spilt.
For every drug I've ever done, I've been in there.
He fucking got a rat.
And he shot that.
Thought it was fucking tar.
And shot it.
And got the same infection I had.
Went right to his heart.
Okay, Okay.
No, I don't know. I'm just
okay, but yeah, that's what happened. And so I knew I was coming on here, and since we're going to talk about drugs a little bit.
Listen, you talked, I really appreciate your story. Would you do me one more favor before we go?
Anything.
Would you play the song?
Oh, yeah. What, are we cutting it off now? Is it too long? Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Probably too long, but I loved every second of it.
Okay. Did we get there?
We
got everywhere we needed to go?
Is there anywhere we didn't go? He doesn't know.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
Is there anything? No, hold on though, Shane. Is there anything that you wish you had said that you didn't say? I think we covered so much ground. It was amazing.
No,
I feel good.
No, and I talked about a lot of things that I don't normally talk about.
Did you feel good?
Yeah.
I've done 523 episodes.
I would have gone talking to you about this. It's my salvation. I'd talk about just like it's yours. I'm sure.
100%.
This is what cures us.
But I'll tell you this, you told pretty much every inch of your story. When you come back, we could just shoot the shit on recovery and drugs and whatever.
Fair enough. Okay. This song, Making Mud Pies.
Yeah, I love that song.
I wrote it in prison, and I wrote it with a guy. Jimmy Space. Did I talk about this in the last one? Who I wrote it with?
No, I don't think so.
Jimmy Space is a dope fiend bank robber, and he had polio, not the guy I worked out with. He was Greek, and he had the coolest tattoo I ever saw in my life. He had a Greek war helmet that Gary Gilmore, do you know who he is?
Gary Gilmore, no.
He's the guy that got the death penalty reinstated in the 70s. They wrote like songs looking through Gary Gilmore's eyes. He's the guy they did Executioner's Song, the movie on, that killed some people in a gas station, and they said, okay, we're sentencing you to die. And they hadn't killed anyone. They had commuted the death penalty, and he was like, okay, asshole, you sentenced me to die, now you kill me. And they did. They shot him. And he tattooed Jimmy through the bars a Greek helmet. Jimmy was Greek, and he helped me write this song. He's dead now. But when he had polio, when he'd rob banks, he would put a cast on his leg because he walked like a guy with polio. So when he'd rob the bank, they go, a guy with a cast. They wouldn't go, a guy with polio, you dig? He got caught in the bank. But anyway, he wrote there's a word in it, proletariat, and that's his word. But I just want to make sure that everyone remembers him. Yeah, okay, here we go.
Do you feel it just sound good in the thing?
Are you gonna sing or is it just acoustic?
He's gonna sing.
I'm going to
Maybe
sing.
turn the mic a little bit toward you.
Yeah, so split the difference.
Closer?
Between you and the guitar.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. With your proletarian husband and your convict friends, your plastic purse, it's filled with 5s and 10s. Your two made-up faces and your innocent eyes. Your mercury mouth, it's spouting endless lies. A silver spoon concealed near your breast. Your golden arm hidden in a long sleeve dress. It's about Casey, Michelle. You listen for Keith Richards on your stolen radio. Watch Boris Karloff at an all-night downtown show. Every morning spent looking for the man who makes you wait. Hours in the rain by the 3rd Street China Gate. You tried methadone, sweet Jesus, Valiums, and red wine. It's hard to kill the passion when it's always on your mind. Judge her with mercy, please don't measure her too hard. She was once someone's little girl, making mud pies in the yard. Judge her with mercy, please don't measure her too hard. She was once my little girl, making mud pies in the yard. Thank you.
Yo, thank you so much for coming.
One other,
Yes.
okay, anyone can find me. My
Yes.
full name, Shane Enholm. I'm Shane Enholm 3 on Instagram because they've taken it before because I talk shit about the government. But anyone that's suffering, reach out to me. I answer everyone that talks to me. I understand. I'm not trying to, get involved in a bunch of shit, but I will always answer an addict.
Shane, Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for
It
having
was
me.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, I hope so.
How
Thank you.
did it feel for you?
Great.
It
Great.
felt good for me.
Always. It's always good.
Good.
This is it.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.